Greetings, I am Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game together. Alright, so we are coming back to our second round of meeting in the flesh, and we did do some talking.
Yes.
We plan to date them all.
We
the
have
plan
done
is to date them all. So Paul,
Yes.
you can be happy. We're gonna date them all. We're gonna go through what we assume is Yiestol's route first.
Yep.
And then we will go back to that critical choice of the experience of, say yes or say no, and we will go through each one of the three of them, and that is our plan for the stream.
And then we will deal with a giant werewolf doggo.
Yes, and then Paul, you should be happy to know we will also date the doggo. Yay!
Yay! We got the minute. All right, so
because we did actually do like light research on YouTube, not to spoil the story, but just to find out sort of what the other playthroughs had looked like, and that basically didn't seem like anyone had done all the routes.
Yes.
It seemed like pretty much they had just done Yiestol, because there's only like two other people that have played it. There's like three, I guess, but one of them didn't finish it at all, and the other two looked like they just did this first route like we did.
Right.
And according to the game creators, doing the routes in chronological order actually makes the story make the most sense. So we're just going to date these boys right in order, and welcome aboard.
Yes, here we go. So we're going to start here, and it'll be great. Oh, well, fine.
All right.
Be free.
The crowd outside the store has thinned out a little bit, but it's still sizable. At least those people from earlier who'd been gossiping have either gotten into the store or have wandered off. Tired of waiting, I gingerly squeeze my way past the waiting line and back onto the streets, inhaling deeply. Already the sweet scent of honey is much thinner, cut through with the musty smell natural to the air.
Oh, and just for you, Drakonishi, since you have not been here, is that this game has some elements of basically body horror and like torture and like
blood
and criminal punishment
and they also warn against like vore and sexual scenarios.
Yeah,
we have the adult like version turned off, but there is going to be like there's going to be an experience of we don't know what it'll be like, even if it's not mature, it should still be like R-rated maybe, so we'll see.
Okay, just so everybody's good. Yeah. Yeah, but we also didn't want to get pulled down, so we were like, I don't know, we both don't know what the mature version of this game looks like.
And we do know that Twitch doesn't allow mature content like sexual nature of any kind. So, but we understand that our rating is fine, so we're doing our best to be kosher and compliant.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Overhead, the skies are starting to streak through with darker shades of green as the suns dip toward the horizon.
Because you have multiple suns on this alien world.
Yeah, which is what we're looking forward to. So basically, Drakonishi, if you haven't seen the first half of this, like what this is this is basically a spooky monster experience of essentially the cherry blossom festival in an anime, because it's the eclipse is happening 3 days. Do you have a date kind of thing?
Yes.
That's what this game is. It's adorable.
I for Affinity definitely will get some people. Yes.
All right. Though there's a strong urge to linger, I wait to see if the store will quiet down at all, even to turn back inside to help Niarg. I know I shouldn't, so I don't look back as I dig my heels into the ground and take off at a quick sprint down the street. At least these last few deliveries won't take long. So we are a courier. That is our job.
Yes, we
are. Monster experiences. We thought you would like this game, which is why we invited you.
It'd be great.
All right.
Thanks, Vil. Seems like you had a busy day, huh? You're cutting it pretty close.
Yeah, things have been a little hectic today.
I can imagine, since tomorrow's the big day, Good work. You should go rest up.
I love that their name is Shyler, but with a CH. It's very cute.
It's very cute.
Yep, same. Like we're both going. There's very little traumatization of general topics left to have.
Yeah,
but specifics can totally still throw me.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like for me, I don't really find it to be traumatizing as just sort of like surprising. Like I sometimes like I don't know. I guess maybe when I was younger, I used to have
the right
more
word. It's
like
usually
pain in reference to going, what am I?
It's usually a deeply uncomfortable feeling if I encounter something that's just a personal like squick of mine. Like,
right.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We thought of you. Thanks. I will. Have a good night.
You too.
Even smiling feels exhausting after the long day, but I still make sure to wave as I trot off, pawing at my pack to make sure all my deliveries have been taken care of. All done. And with barely a minute to spare, I really did cut things pretty close. But at the same time, I don't regret it. It feels like what happened today was pivotal, and absolutely worth a bit of extra running.
I'm still really excited. Like, I'm actually really curious going, what are you so concerned about, like, when the suns go down?
Or
there
being
seems to be a
done
really
in time.
distinctive, like, do not be late.
There is sort of an interesting level of that, which yes, Shyther's very cute. There's some cool-ass looking monsters in this game that have nothing to do with dating people, and it's awesome because they're all fully characterized. I say, but we have wondered very much in reference to why do we have to get back, because we don't check in with our boss or anything. We just have to finish our route and on time, whatever the on time is, which seems to be sunset. So there's a little bit of like ominousness that we know nothing about. I end up taking the long route back home, backtracking a little bit.
Just a little.
I walk past Niarg's store, which has gone quiet by this time. I can still see flickers of movement inside, but it looks like it's mostly just Niarg cleaning out the store by himself.
With his bees!
Maybe we can stop by for that honey we were talking about. I would like it if that would be followed up on.
Oh, you found the creator's Twitter account. Oh, cool. That's
Yes,
neat.
actually, we looked at the creator on their Itch.io account, and they seem really neat. Honestly, they seem very friendly.
Yes. Also,
Like,
yes,
they're
Drakonishi, we totally did think of you because we were like, you said you like monsters. This would be great.
The monsters. Honestly, you're gonna love Niarg once you meet him. It'll be amazing.
Yes, it'll be awesome.
All right. I cut through the park. The atmosphere here is different after dark. The spindly trees casting twisting shadows across the uneven ground. The air feels colder too, and it feels different without Breton's boisterous presence walking by me. Breton is our werewolf.
Breton is our big boy.
Palm is very excited about our giant werewolf, and we will get to him, don't worry.
Yes.
I walk past the Overlook office, which continues to watch silently over the city, the spire's eyeballs lazily cast over the landscape, though they blink slowly now and again, as if growing tired. I think of Yiestol in his Overlook pod, devoting his life to guarding the city. Tomorrow is bound to be a big obstacle for him, and my chest aches with the desire to help him in some way. I give the spire a small wave. Even if he's bound to be too occupied to see such a small gesture, it's the thought that counts. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the spire's largest eye gives a slow blink in response, but it still eases my mind a little as I turn away.
It's true.
Honestly, this person is adorable, and I have loved it.
Vil is great. Oh, yeah, so monster dating game with Monster Prom. Well, like, we still kind of want to play it, for sure. Like, it looks like it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate the effort that went into it.
I think isn't Monster Prom on our wish list?
It is.
Yeah, so one of these
believe.
days we may get to play it. I say anything that costs money, we just shove up on the wish list.
It's true. And mine a little as I turn away.
My thoughts feel fuzzy as I walk back home, watching the three suns sink out of view, one at a time.
That's honestly also pretty fast in that way.
Yeah,
Going
it's
boink,
true.
boink, boink.
Or it's a very long walk home.
Oh, that's also possible.
Because we've
too.
gotten the impression that this place is sort of like an impressive kind of wasted landscape, that everything is very far apart. And being a salt courier is a lot like being like a milkman, but on foot and at great distances. Like, we are a four-legged running apocalypse monster that delivers the food.
I love it.
It's pretty cool. When I get back to my place, I just grab a salt packet and collapse on my bed. I usually don't eat in bed, but I'm too tired to care today. I roll over on my back to unwrap the fabric and drowsily bite off a small mouthful of salt. This familiar sting spreads through my mouth, hot and sharp, and I try not to think about it as I let it dissolve on my tongue. Even eating feels exhausting. I turn my head to glance toward my window. Past the closed curtains, I can see a sliver of the night sky. Two moons lazily traversing that dark expanse.
Yes, we have 5 great bodies in the sky.
We do. The sky orbs. There are many.
Orbs.
Though I bring the salt to my mouth for a second bite, I find that I just can't be bothered. I'll eat in the morning. It also might be that we need to get home not because of dark, but because our particular biochemistry says we have to sleep. We might just get crashed by dark. We might essentially roost our particular being.
I was going to say, are we a chicken?
We are a chicken or
We
a
are
pigeon.
chicken.
And
Are
we
you a little chicken?
and we roost. So roosting birds are really interesting because as soon as the natural light goes away, they basically go into a light coma.
Yeah.
And so once they fall asleep, that's kind of it, which is why we teased about the Arcana Magic Night chickens.
Right. Which is actually one of the cool things, for example, conversely kind of hummingbirds. So hummingbirds actually basically have such a high accelerated rate of heart rate and their entire circulatory system that they actually deliberately shut it off at night, because otherwise they die at night. Like, they require so much energy while they're going around during the day because they burn so hot, right? And then it's actually a really cool characteristic, even though it's kind of sad because it leads to a lot of death, is that the female, who tends to take care of the young, as far as I understand, she actually will keep her metabolism running all night so the babies can remain warm, because they become so cold at night, otherwise they couldn't keep their eggs warm. And it's so kind of morbid.
On the other hand, a lot of, they survive to get their babies grown, so it's not like they die all the time.
I didn't know. But I'm like, you run a higher risk.
But there is this really cool experience with birds that roost going into this sort of like, essentially like an impressively deep sleep when the sun is gone, where you can actually do like light medical procedures without, bothering them.
Right.
Because they're in such a deep sleep. But also with hummingbirds, they go into torpor, which is basically a deep coma, because it's basically a stasis, and it's amazing.
It's super cool, which is also then where you get the tiny little snoring hummingbirds, which are really cute.
All right.
Moss problem is quite ridiculous. I don't know if you're able to analyze it. Way you do dating sims, you could choose to go to the problem alone. That would always just work. Sometimes you unlock a secret ending and get assigned a date anyway. Oh, that sounds kind of cool.
Adorable. No, we saw like some of Game Grumps playing it, and we thought it was really cute.
I thought it was pretty adorable, but that's also because I watched a little bit of Game Grumps at the time, and he was like, "This is a thing that I did the voice acting for." It was really cute.
He was very excited.
He was delighted.
Yeah, that sounds like fun though. All right. I do the bare minimum to wrap the salt back up so it won't scatter over my bed during the night. But that's the absolute limit of my energy for the night. Even knowing I have to get up to clean up before falling asleep, my limbs feel so laden, and I find myself drifting off. But even as sleep begins to overtake me, I find myself thinking over the events of the day. A small shiver of nervous anticipation races down my spine, all the way to my toes, prompting me to wrap my blanket closer around my body. So much for a quiet eclipse. Tomorrow will probably be a very important day. Very auspicious.
The Cherry Blossom Festival.
Ooh, we have a lot of ooh-woos. Okay, so that is our alarm beetle, and we love the heck out of our alarm beetle. They are taboo.
It's awesome.
I jerk awake to the sound of my alarm beetle buzzing. They are also a good soft pet, and we are very gentle with them.
We love them.
I immediately close my eyes and roll back over, burying my face into my pillow. The desire to go back to sleep is tremendous, which is pretty unusual. I almost never have trouble waking up in the morning, but my limbs still hurt a little bit after all the sprinting yesterday.
Poor baby. Boo.
The monster prom where Aaron raps a whole ass song.
Scott Howell.
That
really?
Sounds adorable.
That sounds hilarious.
Honestly, that game looked hilarious, though. It looked like it was in very good fun, and we are curious.
Yes.
Yesterday. My thoughts immediately snapped to the strange talk I had with Yiestol, and that certainly wakes me up. I jolt upright in an instant, my drowsiness dissipating like so much smoke. Stand by! And the salt goes flying across the room.
Right.
Shit. Hi. I sit up in bed, scuffing a hand over my face and picking off the pus that's dried over my eye during the night.
Now we have more specifics as to why we have pus on our face.
A cursory check of the time tells me I'm not late, but I should move quickly if I want to be on time. So I do. Also, as far as we know, the pus is from basically their face getting dried out and chapped from the harsh environment and running in it without moisturizer. They need to moisturize and care for themselves.
It's important.
But they are so professional. It's a balance thing, but it's the way they handle it. While it's a little bit like, oh baby, it's also charming. And I try very hard not to think about the eclipse. I'll have time to spare for that once I'm actually on my route.
Yes.
Whoosh.
So this is the factory Draken issue, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
I told you. Oh, hang on.
I
told you. Take the day off.
I made it on time to work, squeezing past some loitering crowds in the streets, jogging the last stretch of the way to the salt plant, only to find the place quieter than usual. Though there was still the familiar rustle of salt pouring through filters, the scrape of long poles mixing through vats, and the glop of honey being emptied by the bucket, there were fewer workers than usual. The boss seemed a little less hairy than usual. He's like, I took care of all of this yesterday. I planned, I told everyone to order ahead. You're not paying attention. Right. The boss seemed a little less hairy, and when he beckoned me over, he he sprang. He sprang that surprise on me.
And honestly, we could just be Shigaraki.
It's
possible.
Yes.
Delivery roster today's short.
He has the delivery list in hand, and he flips through the pages, swiftly double-checking each one with a stubby pencil.
That sounds unrealistic considering retail.
Right.
Honestly. Damn.
Honestly, though, you really can be like, we're going to be closed on this day. You need to order ahead. And, people do it with grocery stores all the time. So
But
he could be organized. He's been in charge for 50 years. He is boss.
he could be boss.
Boss
It's
is
true.
boss.
Aye.
Turns out a lot of the people asked to have their delivery for today put on hold, heading out of town because of the eclipse, I imagine, or have plans of some sort. Whatever the reason, we barely have half the usual number of deliveries.
We like his design, too. We honestly have loved a lot of the monster designs.
They're really cool.
They're very distinctive as well. He scratches at the scales on his snout with the back of his end of his pencil.
Felt silly making you run all your routes, so I reorganized the routes. And a few of you have barely taken any days off, so I'm giving you rest. Go enjoy the eclipse. Fuck off.
I automatically give a dip of the head in thanks, but it still hasn't properly sunk in. I build my daily schedule around my work. This person is like a machine for work.
Yes.
And suddenly being told I have the whole day to myself is jarring. I thought I might do something at the end of the day if I had time, but it was going to be a great excuse to not have time, and now The boss seems to notice my hesitation and gives me a hard clap on the back. That was that sound.
That's smack.
Smack. Even if he meant it playfully, he's a strong guy, and that casual whap is almost enough to bowl me over. I stagger. Ha! He laughs as I wheeze.
Go on, get. You're young. Go do something fun.
Hi.
I know. Oh, no. You deserve it.
You're sure there... Getting my footing again. If you're sure there isn't anything I should be doing, please let me into work. I don't know how to organize myself. Help.
You doubting me?
No, sir. Leaving the salt plant empty-handed so early in the days feels profoundly weird, and I'm not quite sure what to do with my hands as I head towards the door. It's almost a relief when the boss calls me right before I reach the door. Yes, I am ready. What?
All right. Oh, Bill, hold on a second.
Yes, boss? Okay, I'm gonna guess. He's gonna give us his salt.
I hope so.
Let's see. He tromps over, digging through the pocket of his apron and pulling out a few scraps of paper. He returns most of them to his pocket, but holds one out to me.
Somebody from the Overlook office came by earlier and gave me this. Said it's for you.
Yiestol sent somebody? The boss nods. The piece of paper is neatly folded into a square, and unfolding it reveals a short note written in Yiestol's impeccable handwriting.
Vil, I was hoping I could see you today if you aren't too busy. I'll be at the Overlook offices all day, so please visit me if you're able. Please don't worry about it if you have other plans. Thanks.
Yiestol.
I thought that was
He has to say his own name.
Yiestol.
Because you think it when you're writing it. Of like, I say to you, Yiestol. From me.
From moi.
It's written so politely, which is very much like him. I smile to myself as I fold the note back up and tuck it in my pocket. More mask.
Throwing my mask.
Throwing the mask.
Something wrong?
No, nothing's wrong. Yiestol just wants to see me about something. Hey, boss.
Yeah?
What are you going to be doing during the eclipse? Do you have ideas? Can you give us some direction, coaching? A little bit of footing. He smiles, the mask straining to stay in place on his snout. I can imagine just this huge ass smile.
yes. Monster.
I can almost picture all the teeth he's showing. The boss doesn't smile often, but when he does, it's very kind. So it's a pity the mask is in the way. I love that. This person just, like Vil, our pro tag, just admires everyone so much and appreciates all of their good characteristics. And there's a level of them just being, like, both really, like, visual, but extremely, like, positive and warm about, I just want to appreciate you as a person. And it's pretty cool. I just love it.
There's also an interesting preoccupation with teeth.
There is definitely a teeth preoccupation.
Teeth patient.
Teeth patient.
I'll be watching the eclipse with my partners while we enjoy a packet of mercury salt together.
Ah, mercury salt. We officially have Polly in here. I love it.
We do. That's actually really cute.
Yes.
That's right.
I want to see the lizard teeth too. Beautiful teeth. Where are you? All right, we're gonna have to go and draw his teeth.
I know.
He gives a proud huff, arms across over his chest.
Jen thought it was extravagant, but I know Dearth loves it. So if I let this special day go by without... So I went for it, excuse me. So I went for it. As if I'll let this special day go by without doing something nice for the loves of my life.
That's so charming.
So cute.
We knew this game was inclusive, but that's even more inclusive. That's cute. That sounds really nice. I hope you have a nice evening. Big cuddly lizard boy squished in between his two monsterino pals. That's cute.
We will. So you should too. Get
I
out.
am gruff dad to everyone who works for me. And also, me and my partners, I love them. They are the best. I protect. I adore.
protect.
They good.
Yes.
I wish the boss a good day and leave soon afterward. I don't want to delay him any further when there's still work to do. Hopefully, he and everyone else at the plant will be able to finish up quickly and enjoy the rest of their days. Though I do still feel some guilt about taking off by myself.
I'm still just like, the labyrinth music in the background is killing me. It's fine.
When everyone else is working hard. I also don't want to waste the time that was kindly given to me. That level of it.
Honestly, I have not seen Dorohedoro.
I don't even know Dorohedoro.
I can't remember. Is it a game or an anime?
I think it's an anime.
I think it might be,
That's
which
it.
I have not seen.
Boo. Standing out in the streets, I watch people go by for a few minutes. It's actually not as crowded as I feared it would be. No doubt a lot of people are traveling or are already holed up with people important to them. Snuggles everywhere. Far down the street, I can see what looks like a small brawl. I guess that might also be something important to the people involved. But I do hope that it doesn't last long. It would be awful to spend the eclipse in a salt bath.
Yeah.
Tugging my cloak closer around myself, I inhale deeply. The air feels electric, stinging at my nose. All right, I guess I should get moving.
Aha!
The streets are abuzz with activity as I head toward the Overlook office. I imagined we were going straight there.
Yeah.
Listen to all the people.
It's so good, so many. In the background, it look great.
That's neat. I like it. All right. If there was a strange electricity in the air yesterday, then the very atmosphere is crackling with energy today. As I walk past a popular garment store on the main street, the window shatters as a body comes hurtling through it. Fragments of organic glass go skittering in all directions as the defenestrated individual rolls... Defenestrated. Rolls across the pavement, shouting and howling. I love the tiny little specification of organic glass.
I know.
That's so great because there is like everything here is flesh. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, or some of it's flesh,
Or
some of it's like
variety. And then there's
growing
and then there's basically rock. And then it's like all different varieties of flesh, including like chitin, muscle, bone, all of it. Like it's pretty cool.
It's neat.
A second figure comes bowling out of the store moments afterwards, landing on the first in a vicious tackle. There's only a short pause before fists start flying, as both parties attempt to pummel each other. A small crowd gathers around the fighters. Some people spectate quietly, while others cheer and shout. There is a lot of unrest in this city.
There it is.
It doesn't matter if these fighters are strangers or not. They are no doubt engaging in something that matters a great deal to them on this auspicious day. So one of the big themes of this is that a lot of people make big life changes on the day of the eclipse.
Yes.
And whether it's meeting back was it actually our good rat who was like, I was going to meet a friend? No, it was our one at the beginning of the day who's got the teeth. Who's going to be like, I'm going to meet with an old, the chittery bug one.
Oh, yeah.
Who's like, I'm going to meet with an old friend who I had a fight with years ago.
Right.
And we agreed to meet up on the eclipse if we don't make it up. But anyway, so
Right.
the theme is staying really consistent of people doing things that they are deeply important to them, whether those be very soft or very hard.
Right.
This may be a way for them to settle a long-standing grudge. Oh, fights too are important after all. I peer past the onlookers for a few minutes before continuing my way, giving the crowd a wide berth, just in case. It would do to get embroiled in a big brawl after all. I'm tired, but I could kick ass if I want to. But probably not a good idea.
No.
I've just put the fight behind me when a pair of Overlook officers run past me, shouting for the crowd to back off and give the fighters room. I love the idea of that experience of like, they're just going to be like, give them space to resolve this thing.
Except I don't
know if that's what it is, but it sounds like
I'm kind of like, whoa, boy.
My steps slow as I glance over my shoulder. The fight is still going on, judging by the shouts and scuffling noises, and the officers wave their batons to get the attention of onlookers, urging them to step aside. Of course, it's the Overlook's job to ensure that things go smoothly on Eclipse Day. It wouldn't do for strangers to interrupt a personal fight. See?
Oh.
I think it is. They're really like, people should be able to solve their important business on this day because that's what this day is about.
Okay.
I like that cultural point. Or for the fight to involve third parties. Either one. It must be difficult. There's so much going on today. Up ahead, a loud shout catches my attention. A small crowd is gathered around a tall figure who stands with arms raised, shouting indistinctly. I think they're announcing something important. The crowd gathered around them seems excited.
Ooh.
This too is probably something the Overlook officers have to keep an eye on. I can see the Overlook spire up ahead, looming above the other buildings. The spire's eyes dart back and forth rapidly. Even from this distance, I can see the spire's flesh pulsing rapidly in spots, frantically pumping blood through its veins. I don't think I've ever seen it so active. But this is our first eclipse after all.
It's true.
Yiestol must be working harder than he ever has. He was also nervous about his first eclipse, going, I don't know what it would be like to eclipse. The note he left for me had seemed so candid, but Yiestol always seems to try and seem at ease. I can't imagine this is actually easy, even for him. The fight behind me sounds like it's escalating. The heavy, meaty sounds of knuckles pummeling into flesh echo down the street, but I don't pay them any attention. Instead, I quicken my pace, heading towards the Overlook office at a run. I don't want to keep Yiestol waiting any more than absolutely necessary.
Here we go.
Excuse me? My first thought is that the office feels weirdly quiet as I push the door open, which is odd. Shouldn't it be bustling with activity today?
Oh dear.
That is interesting.
That is a little bizarre.
And then I realize what's going on. The office is emptier than usual. Some desks look like they've been abandoned in a hurry, paperwork thrown in all directions. Others are manned by the usual occupants, piled high with papers and communication bladders, their tubes crisscrossed the floor like cobwebs. There's the constant furious scratch of pen tips on paper, punctuated only when a worker grabs a bladder to whisper furiously into it. The communication tubes pulse non-stop, carrying a steady stream of messages out of the office to the Overlook officers out in the field, I assume. I do like the idea that while the officers do use essentially corporal punishment, as it were, and there is some really extreme, like, you will be put in a salt bath, which is torture. They really are, like, there is actually a piece of culture here, and the depth of this is a personal fight, we just don't want anyone getting involved, kind of thing. And the level of, if this isn't actually civil unrest, we just want to keep everyone safe.
Right.
You know, like, that's cool as hell. Doing my best not to interrupt their concentration, I make my way past their desks towards the Overlook pod in the corner. So immersed in their jobs, the co-workers all ignore me as I step over their communication tubes. In case anyone hasn't seen the Overlook pod, we can hide the desks for a second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I should also mention if you want to see Drek initiating the backgrounds, please feel free to ask. We will show them off again.
Yep.
They're pretty neat.
But
honestly.
yeah, that big blobby blob in the corner, that's actually the Overlook pod. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's basically like a brain connected to the eyes that you see on top of the spire that they were mentioning, that Vil was mentioning.
Yep.
So it's just basically a cute little hub
that's
and made out of flesh.
And the Overseer climbs inside of it and becomes the functioning awareness of it.
Yeah.
So like it's basically just sort of like, it's not inert, but it's base intelligence without an operator.
Right.
It's basically like low animal intelligence.
Yeah, and they actually have discussed even that the thing has advanced more as the years have gone on. It has evolved.
It's evolved and gotten a little bit smarter, so it can do really basic observation on its own. It's pretty cute. Yiestol? The eyes on the pod are half lidded, and it's not until I speak up that they blink open and turn to me. All these eyes. I got your note, but I can come back later if you're busy. There's a brief pause before the eyes simultaneously shut, Then the pod cracks open with a wet, squelching sound. It is biopunk, actually. The entire thing is really genuinely biopunk. And it's like soft world building biopunk, and it's pretty cool.
It's a lot of fun, actually.
I didn't even think of that, but well called.
No, I'm glad you came.
Yiestol's voice is muffled by the sound of fluids as it's sloughing off him. His exoskeleton sheds the coating of slime easily, and when he brushes his hand over his body, it comes off him in viscous strands, plopping back into the pod's pool in big globs.
Yes.
Thank you for dropping by on such short notice, Phil. It was a rather sudden request, so I wasn't sure you'd be able to make the time.
He bends down to brush the last of the pod's slime off his body, then carefully extracts one leg from the pod, letting the slime drip off it completely before he sets it on the floor. I still want to draw his little, toothpick bone legs. It sounds adorable.
It does.
Then he repeats the process with the other foot, which isn't actually a foot. Then his balance slips. He is going to be the adorable, like love interest falling into our arms. I hope we catch him.
I do too.
Aye. Perhaps because of a residual streak of slime, his foot skids sideways and he topples over. Fortunately, yes! My reflexes are quick enough that I can prop him up before he hits the floor and crashes back into the pod.
Or crashes.
Yeah, or crashes back into the pod. I love the idea that we're just we just do the, arms and legs, just whoosh, catch him. And there's a whole sparkling on the Cherry Blossom Festival. The sparkly eyes.
There's such anime monster stuff which just delights me. Honestly, it's really cute because the contrast is so high.
Whoa, are you all right? Yiestol seems stunned for a moment, eyes wide in shock. His gaze slides over to me, studying my face before he gives a small nod. It is that moment, just staring into your eyes. You cut me. The blushy. I need a blush icon that I can just shove everywhere.
Yes. Thank you. I suppose that could have been dangerous if I hit the floor.
Behind me, I hear a worker ask if everything is okay, but most of the others don't even seem to have noticed anything happened. Their focus is incredible. Perhaps that's what it takes to keep things running smoothly during the eclipse. I carefully help Yiestol back on his feet, finally realizing just how exhausted he seems. Without the coating of slime, it's more obvious that his exoskeleton is lacking its usual luster.
Doesn't he look a little different? Actually, I'm kind of wondering how, his shine.
He does look a little duller. It looks like they actually did change it. It could be imagining things, but I think they actually dulled him down for this.
That's kind of cool.
They have had a lot of, cute attention to detail, and I have loved the wide range of expressions on all the monster faces, as I mentioned.
Right.
Even their werewolf has, 7 different expressions in one scene.
I know!
It's pretty great.
It's really nice.
All right. I carefully help Yiestol back to his feet, finally realizing just how exhausted he seems. Oh, there we go, sorry. His eyes half-lidded as he gingerly rubs a hand against the soft connective tissue near his jaw. No.
He's like, oof, I'm afraid I rather lost track of time. I haven't been able to get rest in a while. I might be more exhausted than I thought.
I advocate for shifts. We need reform.
We need shifts.
Shifts. On the other hand, as he said, the overseer job is really hard and most people can't handle it. So it might just be that no one else who has applied has actually passed the test, and he really is the only one that can do it right now. And he's just trying to cover as many shifts as possible. You need to rest. I keep my voice firm as I look up at him, meeting his gaze steadily.
Of course, but my work.
Yiestol is clearly distracted, eyes closed as he struggles with his thoughts. He clearly needs to rest. I wish to hold.
Not all.
I need to persuade him somehow. Tell him he can't work as well if he's in poor condition. Say he needs to take better care of himself for the future. I just want him to take care of himself, honestly. It's not only about the job. I want to say, I don't know what the tone of these necessarily are, but generally everything our character has said is pretty soft, and very encouraging. So I feel like one just focuses more on work, and the other one more on himself.
Right.
And I feel like he knows the work is important. So we'll just say he needs to take better care of himself for the future.
Practice your good self-care.
Exactly. So it doesn't sound like you just need to take better care of yourself. It sounds very much like, considering the future.
Hey, dude. Yeah.
He can't just think in the short term. Even if this eclipse is important, he also needs to think of the future. All right, Deku and All Might. This is it.
Yes.
This is that moment where we say you cannot spend everything you have in this one fight because other shit's going to happen in the future, okay?
You dumbass.
It's going to happen. You need to budget yourself.
Please.
But yes, need to rest. Say all of us. All
Yes.
of us. Everyone walks into the group chat. Yiestol, sit.
Okay.
Baby. Please. Yiestol, I know your work is important, but this won't be your only eclipse, right? You're our overlook. You'll be overlooking the city for a long time, so you can't run yourself ragged like this. So please, rest for a moment. There was also something you wanted to talk to me about, right? Yiestol's attention snaps over to me, as if I'd said something terribly important. He blinks hard before giving a small nod. Hi.
Right. Right, of course.
You poor tired baby. He's like, even the thing that I wanted you here for, I forgot about. Habu. He inhales and exhales slowly. All right, everyone, deep breaths. I watch the soft portion of his exoskeleton swell with that breath, settling back down as he empties his lungs. After 2 or 3 more slow breaths, he seems much calmer and offers me a smile, his usual smile.
You're right. I think a short break would be good.
His face is so cute. I love the way he smiles and expresses. Even though he still looks exhausted, it's good to see him at least acting like he usually does. I can't help give a small sigh of relief.
Yes.
Yeah, this sounds great. That sounds great.
Here we go.
We end up back on the rooftop, beside the dormant spire, or semi-dormant spire. Okay, look at this spire, Drakonishi. Isn't it cool as hell?
It's super cool. Also, yes, the character is a work bug, and they know how to say rest. Yes.
Like, what are you? I am a bee, and I say chill.
I say, I work constantly and don't even know how to take a day off properly. Yiestol, you should rest.
Right?
On the other hand, people who take poor care of themselves, because they care so much about other people, are often really good at still caring for other people.
Yeah.
I know I am a bad example, but you should rest.
You should do that thing.
Yeah.
I support you anyway. But yes, we are
It is
essentially worker bee. You're
Sort
right.
of that hilarious like irony for sure, like where you're just kind of like, you're horrible at this for yourself, but with other people you're fantastic. You're the advocate of the universe.
I am that person sometimes. I have suffered from workaholism in my life of going, work makes sense, so I will hide there.
Yeah.
And that's part of the ways I've gotten financially stable in a couple of parts of my life, simply by dumping every single one of my relationships, friendships, family connections, and working 70, 80 hours a week because I didn't know how to cope with things. But I don't recommend it to anyone.
Right.
Like, I don't. It's not good.
Yeah.
But, like, sometimes that's what you do when you're just like, I have social anxiety, and boundaries and relationships are hard. We end up back on the rooftop beside the dormant spire. It, too, seems a little strained. On the other hand, I also have the privilege to be able to do that because I am able-bodied and healthy enough that I've been able to, if you will, abuse myself in that way without having to think about it very much.
Yeah.
The eyes seem somewhat bloodshot as they lazily scan the horizon, and when I gingerly touch one of the protruding lumps of flesh, it feels a little hot. Oh no, the motor running high.
Oh no.
The skin throbs slightly beneath my touch, and I can feel the steady pulse of fluids beneath the stretch of skin.
Oh no.
I'm afraid I've overworked it.
He
somewhat.
overclocked the hard drive.
He did.
You actually are too intense as the overseer, and the actual edifice itself is like, whoa.
Whoa.
He still approaches slowly, his hands running across a large vein snaked over the handrail.
It's not in any danger of serious damage, of course. I'm sure I would give out long before the tower ever does. But I'm afraid I don't yet have the experience and intuition that the previous overlooks did. They could often pinpoint sources of danger and commotion, and look towards them more quickly. Lacking that intuition, I have to search the city more frantically in search of any trouble, and it strains the eyes.
The eyes, whoa.
Eye choices. Hey.
Yeah. Eye-covered trees sound amazing.
Oh, that sounds sort of cool, actually.
That sounds great. We would love to see pictures.
Yeah, please
Yes,
send.
please. Or if you happen to have them on one of your blogs, we can even reblog you and say reminiscent if you want.
Just also out of curiosity, what is colon terrate?
Terrates.
Terrates?
Ceolin terrates? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Terrates?
I don't know how to pronounce it either.
I apologize.
He apologized too.
I apologize.
His voice is gentle as he directs that last statement at the tower. The tower is silent. I like that he apologizes to this essentially like extremely primal, mound of flesh, going, I have very little understanding of things, but I will still show you kindness.
Right.
It's super cute, and I love it. Oh, like jellyfish and hydras. Yes, okay, I know those. You bet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
How to say it in English properly? Neither do we.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I know
we
what you're
can't say
talking
Latin
about.
in English either.
Right? I'm like, what is it, actually? I'm trying to remember how to say it now.
It's okay. We'll get it. We'll look it up at some point.
You're
All
fine.
right, let's see. The tower is silent, of course. Not that it could speak. Not that it could...
Ever speak.
Yeah, they doubled themselves, sorry. Ever speak. But without an overlook present in the pod, it doesn't even glance Yiestol's way. It simply quietly gazes over the city, automatically searching for any significant signs of activity.
Oh, little transition. Yeah,
Gut orifice, that's amazing.
that makes total sense, though,
It's
based off
basically
of...
like intestines,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I can see it, or like internal organs,
I'm like, what are they called? It's okay.
Activity that is sure to find plenty of. Now that we're on the rooftop, I'm much more cognizant of how unusually
Unusual.
active the city is.
My friend, having a time today. Are you
well, the
okay?
thing is it's not this way, so the light's a little hard. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm going to adjust the screen so I can read a little more reliably.
Okay.
All right. Here and there, colorful plumes of smoke crawl up from between buildings, lit from beneath by flickering light of fires. Celebratory fires, perhaps, or malicious ones, possibly.
Oh.
Well, it could also be important malicious ones, though,
Yeah.
on this particular day, because that's not something we've ever seen before.
Right.
To our east, I can make out a large crowd gathering at an intersection. It boils with activity, though from the distance, it's hard to make out what the individuals are doing.
This distance.
I'll get there.
Okay.
From all around us, the sound of shouting and cheering and screaming carries on the wind. And since they have so many different arrangements of faces / vocal cords / experiences, that's probably a fascinating sound.
Right.
The breeze always whips away those voices before we can make out specific words, but the impression we get is always the same. Today is a day unlike any other in recent memory. Controlling that chaos must be a gargantuan task. I can't imagine how difficult it is for Yiestol and the other Overlook workers. Right. Yiestol?
Yes.
Him. Who?
Hi.
I'd been lost in my thoughts as I stared out over the city, and Yiestol had taken the chance to quietly take a seat beside me. His legs swing off into the empty air of the edge of the building as he looks up at me. I take a seat as I continue. The office seemed much emptier than usual. Did something happen? I assumed it would be much busier on the eclipse. No, we just gave people the day off because we're decent.
I was about to say.
Oh, that. I'm afraid we lost quite a few workers today.
Oh.
Officers, too. They are individuals, after all, with their own priorities and desires. It may be our duty to watch over the city, but it's difficult to place duty above something truly important to you. Say, traveling someplace to meet someone very important, or settling a lifelong grudge against a very bitter foe.
Or, if this job didn't turn out to be the right fit for you, making a career shift.
Right.
I like that it's not actually like permanent loss with a lot of them, but they did talk that a lot of people shift careers on the solstice.
Right.
Yiestol's voice is steady and soft. There's no trace of ill will or bitterness in his voice. In fact, it sounds like they have a really poor time off arrangement systems at all these jobs, though. It's basically like everything is sort of a machine here, and it's like there is no we're not how do we do it? They're not organized in the sort of way that we have paid days off or scheduled time off or holidays or anything like that.
Right.
It's not that kind of a city. Sticks, yes. Yeah, he has tiny, skinny legs, and even while we haven't seen down to the bottom of them, we understand that they make a little thunking noise, when they clack onto the ground because they're like bone spikes, kind of thing.
I imagine
that's what
they're
it sounds like.
still very Silent Hill is where
Yeah,
my brain.
he
keeps
sounds
track.
like he just has stilts.
Yeah.
Part of me wishes they were here to help, of course. But another part of me is grateful. It means they trust me enough to look over the city despite their absence. I should have prepared for this in the first place. It was my mistake, not anticipating it, so I'm grateful they trust in me regardless.
He seems pensive. I badly want to comfort him, to make him feel better, but it's difficult knowing what to say.
Yes.
They were right to trust you, weren't they? I just have to do my best.
I mean, that's the thought to yourself.
Mm-hmm. I'll just have to do my best. Things are going smoothly so far, after all. I passed by some commotion on the way here, but the officers got there really quickly, and it didn't look like it was getting out of control. You're doing a great job keeping the city safe.
Oh, you've actually seen the full figure.
Is there a full body picture somewhere?
Oh.
Sticks. Excellent.
That's super awesome.
That sounds great.
I approve. That's super.
Right.
I love also we guessed it good.
We did. I mean, again, they described it well enough. Like, all the descriptions seem to match up pretty well with what they actually show, and it's very charming. Even like the word descriptions, which sort of imply things, match
Nice.
up with the visuals. It's a lot of appeal for me.
Right.
You're doing a great job keeping the city safe.
I suppose I'm holding on so far.
Want to pat his, metallic and bristly hair?
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't good enough.
He still seems absorbed in his thoughts, unwilling to interrupt him. I wait quietly until he goes on.
I've managed to avoid any catastrophes so far, but only barely. I've had to claw my way through some tight situations already, and I'm sure things will have escalated while I'm taking this break. I'll have to scramble to catch up once I'm back in the pod. But you were also right that I need to rest periodically to maintain my focus, or else I'm liable to make more mistakes, which would be equally bad.
Yes?
I don't have the experience or composure or intuition that the previous overlooks did, and though they assured me I would soon catch up to them, I'm afraid that won't be the case.
I have that fear at my job sometimes too.
I have imposter syndrome.
Yeah, of going, I might be doing well, but it may not last, or just, it's...
You don't know that I actually suck at this.
Yeah, you don't know that I'm just not as good as any of them.
Never.
Oh my god, I scrambled through my first eclipse a week after I started the job. I was a mess. Him, no, I've had months to prepare and I suck.
Them, oh my god.
The city is calmer than ever. Everyone loves you, thinks you are the best overseer. They commend you on your job completely, and there's a noticeable calmness coming over things and improvement. Him, no, I am terrible.
You're like, I had to go look up this spot.
Yay, the bed scenes. Is there actually bed scenes?
I mean, they did say that there was.
No, meaning we have a bed, but not everyone necessarily has a bed. We were
actual
teasing. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. We love your work, though.
Your work is really good.
Honestly, and I feel you. Sometimes I've been really nervous about taking any kind of an art commission because a lot of people don't actually know what they want, especially in the snobby traditional like painting world. Because I've done a lot of like abstract or sort of impressionist work on canvas, and people will request things, and then they will, even with the body of work that I have to show them what my stuff looks like, they'll be like, oh, and it's like, did you want what you wanted or not? You know?
Right.
Anyway.
Hey, cool. Good for
Nice.
you.
Yay, we all believe in you. Okay, whole chat. We believe in you. Yay.
Believe it, yay.
All right.
We be good. Alright.
Even if this eclipse goes safely, it may be sheer luck. Perhaps this year's eclipse has been on the tame side so far, so if future eclipses are rowdier, if there's more going on, I'd surely fail to keep the city safe.
Aww.
Oh, well, honey, you're like, no, this good luck is only a lie. It will only go bad. There is a deficiency I need to fix, and it's me.
Aww.
I bet you.
The outburst is a little shocking.
He is so we have guessed Drakanishi, definitely, and you haven't been here for it, but it's been really interesting to see where this character is actually debating on more or less fusing with the outlook.
We're not
Experience,
sure
your
that that's what it
experience.
is, but like he has suggested that there's a possibility to make a great big change that would massively change someone's basically mobility and social experience, but would help the city dramatically. So we're like, is it possible to fuse with a damn pod?
Right.
Is that part of how it's evolved over time or whatever? And we're kind of like, the weight of what he seems to be pondering feels intense.
Yes, you are very welcome.
Yeah.
You have more faith in yourself. It's also one of those things that, like, I understand it's a process, and sometimes you yourself, you have high expectations, and that's okay to have high expectations, but it's also, I think, good to basically keep in mind where you've come from, so you can actually kind of watch what's happened, so that you don't basically lose perspective.
One of the things that I've talked to my good friend Scandal here about is this experience of looking at their old artwork and comparing it to the new artwork and allowing themselves to see the improvement they made. But one thing I recommend to everybody is it's really important to trust your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might not like your work, but if they do, it's good enough.
No, hell yeah.
And you can still improve from there, but you have done what they wanted, and it's really important to validate them that way and then validate yourself that way. Fusion, oh my god. Yes, weak gem stronger. Weak monster stronger.
Weak monsters.
Him, I'm a weak monster. I need to be stronger. Habu.
Oh, honestly, we don't even know.
We have no idea. Let's find out.
Uh-huh.
The outburst is a little shocking. I've never heard him be so emotional.
Right.
In all the time I've known Yiestol, he's always been unfailingly calm and kind and gentle, thoughtful and composed.
Gentle?
Gentle.
You said
Thoughtful
gentle.
and gentle. Yeah, it's okay. Thoughtful and gentle. It's fine. Gentle was right next to thoughtful, so forgive me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who always kept tight control over himself and was sharply aware of everything going on around him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll say that sometimes those people who seem the most calm and contained are the people that judge themselves the harshest.
Mm.
And the reason they're trying to be gentle with everyone else is because they don't think anyone else should have that experience.
Right. Oh, and yeah, Drakonishi, for sure. That's actually one of the fun characteristics of being like an artist, I think, sometimes, where you're going like, wow, I would have never thought to do that, or wow, I really messed that up, and the person's just like, this is great. And you kind of go,
And again, you have to acknowledge
Oh.
that different people have different priorities. And it can
absolutely.
be hard sometimes to get out of that. And so it's really great to have a learning experience for yourself going, I wish I'd done it differently. And then trusting them where they go, I love this. And it's really cool.
mm-hmm.
All right. There has always been an ease to him that I'm now just realizing I'd been taking for granted.
Yes,
You
own
always
worst critic.
are your worst critic. It's
Ugh.
amazing. It hurts to think that he's been harboring these distressed thoughts, and I hadn't been able to help him. Yiestol. We never know what will happen in the future. None of us. So I don't think it's fair for you to be so hard on yourself.
Fair of you.
Sorry, fair of you. And I don't think you're deficient in any way. Like the previous Overlook said, if you're just lacking experience, then that'll fix itself as time goes by. Won't it? You're not lacking in anything.
Mm-hmm.
You are enough, we say.
Please.
Don't talk to my friend that way.
Boo! Stop talking shit about my friend.
One of the things that I love about this dating game, and I'm just going to mention this specifically for Drakonishi or anyone just watching the second half, is that we do know all of these people and have positive rapport with them
Mhm.
before any option of dating shows up. And like so many games are just, I just met you and we're going to date. And this one is, these are people that are your friends or your sort of like, comrades and people you know and have good rapport with that you're just going to get closer to.
Right.
And it's kind of neat.
Which is nice.
That certainly got his attention.
Oh.
I compliment you fervently and earnestly. Let me use my blue sparkly eyes. Ooh. I would try to admire you harder.
Yes.
Admires in loudly. Yiestol looks over at me sharply, eyes wide. My voice dies in my throat. Had I said something wrong? Did I admire too aggressively?
Him. Oh.
Hi, look at that
Oh.
face.
I'm sorry, Phil. I didn't mean to surprise you.
Ooh,
Ooh.
the intensity has shifted. I must have looked taken aback because Yiestol suddenly smiles. It's a little rueful, a little embarrassed, highlighted by the way he touches a hand to his face, a finger tapping against his jaw. He also. There's so much ooh-woo in this game. It's adorable.
It's
The little
super
blushing,
cute.
it's cute.
I was so absorbed in my thoughts, I was practically talking to myself.
Uh-huh.
There's something I should have explained first. That's why I asked you to come here, after all. I apologize, I shouldn't have hurried to say those things.
He seems to calm down somewhat, taking another deep breath before he shifts positions to look at me more directly. Vil,
Bill, have you ever met one of my kind before?
oh, he's going to talk about his specific monsterness.
Oh,
I'm excited.
whoa.
The conversation's not going exactly where I expect it to. Regardless, I give the question some serious thought, then shake my head. I don't think so. Not to my memory.
Whoa. Right. Then I assume you aren't familiar with our life cycles either.
Oh dear. Probably not.
Oh no.
Oh no, is he gonna have a short life cycle?
Then please let me explain. It won't take terribly long. Myself and many of the others who have served as Overlook our kind have always been perceptive. We've always excelled at pinpointing anomalies in our surroundings and addressing them as quickly as possible.
You are apex predators.
I might have sneezed.
Oh dear, the sneeze, the sneeze. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Ow, many
hurts.
blessing.
Oof! Of course, we don't take this for granted. In the long history of this tower, there have been many who have served without being the same kind as us. Not all of our kind are fit to serve as Overlook either. It's a position we work towards and serve with gratitude.
Apex predators. I'm hearing it.
Those of us who are selected as the Overlook have always been honored by the position and pour all our efforts into doing the best job we possibly can.
I started drawing as a
thank you.
kid too. Many, yes, we receive the blessings are received.
I appreciate
You're
it.
so
Thank
blessed.
you. I was just dying going.
Because we love the city, of course, but also because we don't want to have any regrets. We don't want to look back at our time as Overlook and think, I could have done better. I could have done things differently.
Except that's exactly kind of what you're doing now.
Right, but he wouldn't be
Interestingly enough.
looking back at it. He's currently in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in that vein, there is something all of the previous Overlooks did before experiencing their first eclipse.
Oh.
Bonding with a partner.
So they had help and he hasn't had help.
Oh.
I understand now why Yiestol reacted the way he did to my attempts at comforting him. I'm not sure exactly what bonding means, but I assume it is not just the nookie. Back
Right.
then is a keyword.
Back then is the keywords. I because it was
It
fun.
was fun and easy back then. The thing is, yeah, when there's no pressure on you for like other people's acceptance and you're just doing it because you want to, drawing's pretty magical.
Honestly, that's the one thing that I think I have found to be disappointing about growing up in that way, is because there is so much basically, like you've basically started to accept other people being involved and needing to be involved and that things need to look a certain way, and it kind of starts feeling like it destroys the magic of just going like, I'm having fun, I don't care. Because I remember when people used to be critical when I just used to draw dinosaurs all the time when I was a little kid, and I didn't care. I was like, I'm having fun.
There's this experience of that I've heard about a lot of when you start doing what you love sort of for a living, then you can really have this experience of not loving it so much anymore because the things you loved about it are removed when put in the environment of a job.
Right.
And that doesn't always happen, but it has happened to some people. I love the idea that they put you in an art school to support you, and that you really enjoyed it, that it helped you. That's great.
That is actually really neat.
Yeah,
Having
neat.
good associated memories with that is actually really nice.
Someone you should draw a fan art of yourself and your favorite character. That is super cute, and I support you, Palm.
Honestly, like that is one of the greatest motivators. Like I remember writing basically stories or fanfics or whatever, or just drawing because I wanted to do my shit. Even if it was, not necessarily myself or, my insert character or whatever it was really was just, I wanted to see these two characters together. That's what I wanted to do. Or just have a cool thing where I felt like I was important.
They say make the content you want to see,
Right?
So power to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
The thing he was lacking wasn't an abstract criticism of his own abilities, but something concrete he felt he'd failed to do. Bonding with a partner? I feel slightly embarrassed knowing I'd misunderstood him so drastically. It isn't as much self-esteem about who he is. Whoa.
Don't sing. Dang it.
Sorry.
Twitch, do not ding me for that. Screw you.
For one tiny little bleep. We hope. That was an alarm. Pardon us.
Yeah, whoops, my mistake.
Yes, a lot of adults trying to enter into drawing actually have a very hard time with it because they're really tough on themselves, comparing themselves to other people who've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
You want to say it. You want to say it. I would say, and I've actually helped some adults get into drawing, and it's kind of interesting. Even people like a lot older than me, because when I was teaching art at one of my young relatives' schools, and it was a volunteer position, not like I'm actually an art teacher at all.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just there was a lot of adults who were like, God, I wish I could do that, and I ended up teaching a number of adults in the class as well, because there's a level of just sort of taking the pressure off and going, it's not about doing anything specific out there, it's about learning to do what you want to do.
right?
Yes, it's not only cuddles and head pats. Well, we're gonna find out, I guess.
It's true.
But like, he's just chiding himself for poor planning. It's kind of nice that it's not just general low self-esteem. All right, bonding with a partner. I feel slightly embarrassed knowing I'd misunderstood him so drastically, but only nod to show that I'm following along with his explanation. He still continues.
You see, no matter how perceptive we are still just one individual with one mind. By bonding with a partner, however, we evolve a step further. We create a deep connection with a second mind and become something greater than a sum of its parts.
Yes.
And
And you feel like you should have made that bond before the eclipse. That makes sense, yeah. Okay, so he's not talking about fusing with the pod, which relieves me greatly because that was terrifying in some ways. I don't know why, but that just made me so uncomfortable. But I deeply value my autonomy, so that, like, I am personally a very physical person, and so I just like, woo, a squared. There's a pause before Yiestol shakes his head.
That isn't quite it. I don't regret having put off my bonding until now. Of course, it might have made it easier on myself to survive this eclipse if I were bonded. At least it would give me peace of mind, knowing that I'd become the best possible iteration of myself before facing this challenge.
Whoa.
But I also didn't want to bond before this eclipse because the bonding process would necessitate changing my relationship with that individual. A rather drastic change, and one that can't be reversed.
So he wasn't talking about theoretical about himself, he was talking theoretical about ourselves. Interesting. Okay, so back when he sort of theoretically tongue-in-cheek posed this to us, we thought he was talking about himself rather than us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm thinking he was talking about us, him going, but the person I liked, you know. The puzzle pieces are falling into place.
That was good misdirection, though.
It really was. That was great.
That
It got
was
both of us really hard.
Good job, story.
I can see now, but without sounding unreasonable at all. Like good, just like, yeah, really well written misdirection. I can see now why Yiestol was discussing those hypotheticals the other day. This is what he'd been worried about. And I suddenly realized he likes me. Ooh. Hi, my worry is just a fraction, with a better understanding of what Yiestol was trying to say. I think I can better understand his concerns.
You switched around the comma and the period.
Yeah, sorry. A drastic change to a relationship. Thoughtlessly, I murmur the words under my breath. Yiestol nods and continues.
Yes, one that can't be undone. Because we need to devour the person we're bonding with.
Oh,
look,
he's
here's
the
your
vore
vore.
character. Oh my god, he's the vore character.
He is the vore character.
Wow.
Whoa.
I did not guess. I had not guessed.
We guessed wrong.
We guessed wrong. I see. That makes sense. Now that I think about it, I've read about these individuals like that in the past. Oh, about individuals like that in the past. They're somewhat rare. Individuals who can meld into another body to become a part of them, or individuals who can absorb others to become a combined entity. Individuals who aren't complete without assimilating another into their body in some form. Wow.
Whoa.
It must be a hard way of living, needing to depend on another in order to grow. Okay, that is actually a little bit like, I love this metaphor of, finding your other half, if you will, turned into a reality. Of going, it's not that I'm not enough, but I am incomplete.
Right.
There is another piece of me that's part of my actual life cycle, and I'm trying to find who is willing to be that. Not like they're out there magically, but you're just finding a partner,
And also, wow, that would be an intense experience also anyway, going like, who wants to do that?
One, who would I want to have as be a part of me, and who wants to do that? Yeah, the intense level of like awareness. On the other hand, if it's part of your coach, there's probably a lot of people that sort of to help you understand what you're looking for, what to feel your way out from,
Right.
And I think that's cool. I nod sympathetically. All right, I'm starting to get what you mean. I guess those hypothetical questions weren't really hypothetical after all. I give a small grin as I say it, and Yiestol responds with a laugh. That wasn't really hypothetical, was it?
I know. Ooh.
It's the most relaxed I've heard him sound today, and it eases some of the tension that's been building in my chest.
I suppose not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little embarrassed now, thinking of how transparent that was. But I badly needed to get it off my chest, and it was the only way I could think to bring it up with you.
Yiestol looks away once more. You could have always just been like, well, so do you know about my anatomy and life cycles? What do you think about that? It's not a good way to bring up this conversation unless someone already knows.
Right.
Casually. So have you read this book, which involves a character which does this? It's a good read. Oh,
It's fascinating. So have you read this fanfic?
it's really, it's enlightening, you might say.
Well,
it's so great. Yiestol looks away once more, gazing out over the city. Someone below us shouts, but we can't see them from where we're sitting, and the words are indistinct. Just one more sound adding to the ambience of the city.
Well, you're intelligent. I'm sure you can guess what I'm getting at.
Hi. I don't want to say that I didn't think I'd have to say it.
I didn't think I had to say.
Of course. The air feels electric, like it's filled with sparks that burst around me as I give a small nod. I can't say I'm happy exactly, but I do feel like this is a tremendously important moment.
And the character being a little bit hesitant.
A little
That
bit
makes sense.
trepidatious. That is a big thing. I mean, imagine your, good friend being like, hey, by the way, indirectly, I'm going to ask to eat you and have the two of us become one.
Right?
And do like the...
You like jazz?
He does an interpretive dance.
I'm glad.
He smiles without looking over at me, his gaze still directed out over the rooftops as he closes his eyes. His hand, however, creeps closer to me, fingers extending as if searching for something. I want to take his hand.
Yes! Yes!
I promptly extend my hand, allowing his fingers to touch against mine. His bones are flawlessly smooth and cool to the touch as they graze over the back of my hand. Then he squeezes my hand just once, his grip gentle but tight.
Yes.
Aye, bold of you to assume we're intelligent.
Oh boy.
My first question would be, is it painful? That is a very good question, and it is appropriate to have questions about this. Go, does this hurt? Is this traumatic? What's the experience like? Well called, bro.
Yes.
Like, in any case, it's not necessarily it has to be scary of going, well, what exactly does this entail?
But even so, it wouldn't do for me to skirt around the issue. I need to talk to you about this in a straightforward and honest manner, or else it wouldn't be fair. It's just that I've never done it before, so I hope you'll understand if I seem somewhat nervous.
Because I've never done the do either thing. He still exhales slowly before looking at me once more. Caterpillar going, I've never turned into a butterfly before, so I don't know. And you're like, it's reasonable that you don't know.
Right?
Yiestol exhales slowly before looking to me once more. His eyes are fixed on me intently, the amber of his sclera amplified and almost glowing in the warm sunlight. Part of me is also, there's this sort of charm to this, of going, our challenges of exhaustion and our own sort of health challenges of having chapped skin and pus, none of that deters him. Those aren't the value, characteristics that he's looking for, and I love that.
Right?
It's kind of like he just us as a person, And it's there's so many of these that are you're so beautiful that it's just really nice to have it be based on other things.
Right?
Anyway.
Well, you're a highly attentive and diligent person. I've admired those traits of yours and aspired to be like you in some ways. There's a warmth to you that not everyone has, and it's the same warmth I'd like to show to the city. I respect you deeply. I cherish you, and in many ways it pains me to put you in this situation.
He's been putting it off because he's going, but I like our relationship the way it is.
Yeah, pretty
Aww.
much. The bonding process would bring us closer than ever. Our minds would be brought together as one. We'd be able to share our thoughts, our feelings, our dreams with each other with absolute clarity. As an evolved being, we would always be at peace with each other. But there are things we would lose. The ability to touch and see each other like this, for one. And because our lives would become one, there are things you would lose. we would make every effort to maintain connections to your old life, of course. I deeply respect the life you have right now, and would never want to take it away any of it from you. Not a single bit of it. We would talk to the same people, visit the same places, experience the same things again. But it would never be the same. A bonding process is a big decision, and I don't ask this lightly of you.
He is proposing in this moment.
Yeah, he kind of
we are getting proposed
He'd
to,
be like-
everybody.
Touching yourself is actually, that is a good point. But it's not the same kind of touch, which is a good difference.
As well as we can tell with our character, it seems like we have fur and hair kind of thing.
Right.
So that's also a very different experience.
I was also going to say, even in the sense of like, even just now where people are like, you know, well, it's fun. You can just write your own story. Like, because I really enjoy writing, but I've always struggled really hard to write by myself because I like the added, basically, input of another distinct, separate person. Sure, I can play with myself, but it's really just, it can get really repetitive, and it can be really different. Just adding someone else in is really helpful.
Let me add in another element to that. There's a very big difference between like talking to someone through the internet or over the phone versus being able to physically touch them with your hand.
Right.
And even if you had super great mental intimacy, like you could deeply understand them and the communication was there, it's still a difference. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad difference, but it is different.
Yeah.
Both hair and exoskeleton might be cool. I'd be very interested in what they would look like and whether his being dictates more of the evolution or whether it's just a mix, like how that goes. And whether it's deeply influenced by what you absorb or not, whether they just have a second phase.
Right.
You know?
I won't ask you for your answer immediately. I would only ask, Phil, would you consider bonding with me tonight during the eclipse?
There is such a level of like soft romanticism there that I like. It's very cute, even as it's very weighty because it's not a traditional, ask. Hearing the facts laid out like this is dizzying, especially when they're coming from someone as usually composed and calm as Yiestol. But because it's him, I can tell this is something tremendously important to him. His straightforward honesty means a great deal to me, and I give a firm nod. Of course, I'll give it some serious thought.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is actually a thing.
It
but
is.
again, I also don't, like, I always feel bad when people are like, well, you just don't understand just how much, like, real physical contact. Like, I kind of, like, I get kind of judgy where people just go, where they just kind of go off about, it's more important to have basically an intimate, close, relationship with someone, and you're just kind of like, but why? Why not, also share in their basically vocal experience, their voice, I think that's probably one of the reasons why sometimes where as much as I think, like, I don't know, sex and sexuality is fun, there's also a level that for me, even over the years, where I think I've changed more towards basically a sort of like emotional connection, because it's one of those of going, it's easy sometimes for some people to go, I just touch you, but it takes more time and it takes more effort to go, I will talk to you. And I appreciate the touch, do not get me wrong, but I just also feel like a lot of people get dissed one way or the other.
I was going to actually put in my 2 cents as far as some people struggling with lack of touch versus other people. Again, some people have basically, I'll just fall to the love language because a lot of people know what that is. But some people just have a lot more emotional investment in physical touch because of the way they were raised or because of the kind of validation it brings them.
Right.
And so there are some people that are way more like, I feel like, also it helps them get out of themselves sometimes. I've had that experience for myself of going, I can forget the things about me and about my struggles with my body if I'm with another person. And, we can cuddle and touch or whatever it is. And so it feels. But yeah, there's 6 of one, half a dozen the other in some ways. And for me, the relationship is really like the cognitive sharing is way more than touch.
Well, and also though too, like I feel like though the people also trying to separate them is really frustrating. Like trying to go,
you're trading one for the other. And it's like it's all a piece of the relationship,
especially for different people.
Right. I'll give it some serious thought. Yiestol exhales hoarsely as if he'd been holding his breath. A really affectionate person Yes, because, yes.
Yeah. No.
And again, touch has different value to different people, but it's also amazing how, like, it's just a different piece of things. And yeah, it can be hard, but it can also be something that you learn with some people. It just isn't necessary, or you learn how to get validation and connection other ways.
Oh. Okay.
That can also be a big difference too. If someone's used to physical touch being part of the relationship, you have a sort of a habitual response as well.
Right.
Yep.
And that's another thing to consider. Also, some people do genuinely change their minds, but that's not to say that their experience is less valid at all.
Or just basically go, I'm used to this, and it takes a little while to change.
Absolutely.
Yiestol exhales hoarsely, as if he'd been holding his breath.
Thank you. I knew you wouldn't be the type to immediately reject it or run away, despite your job.
I do run a lot.
But still, I was quite nervous for a moment. Thank you for listening to me and for taking my request seriously.
Also, if someone comes from a family that isn't very like touchy-feely, it's a very different experience too. Paul, sounds like you get a lot of hugs and such at home, Paul.
Which is super cool.
Which I was gonna say, different families show affection different ways. Some people can be like, I had a family that never touched each other. Oh my God, hold me. And some people being like, we always showed affection differently. No
well,
big
I'm
deal.
saying it's super cool in the sense of going, also that's a thing that you seem to like and want to participate in.
Yes.
Because I've known people who've had super touchy families and they're like, I fucking hate it.
There's that one
Like,
too. Going,
legitimately, they just
as long as you're having a positive experience with your family, you often want to share that same kind of experience with other people.
that thing of wanting consensual touch, if that's a thing you want.
Or,
And I have heard plenty of people go, my family's really touchy and I dislike it, and everybody keeps trying to touch me anyway.
And then other people go, oh my God, my family never touches, and just, I am a hugger. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Right.
I appreciate it more than you can imagine.
He withdraws the hand that had been touching mine and brings it to his face, brushing his fingers against the corners of his eyes. Already, he looks like a tremendous weight has been lifted from his shoulders, so he can focus better.
Yeah.
And I feel the same, of course. Seeing him looking so relieved and hearing that important question from him without the veil of hypotheticals feels refreshing in a way. We hear a raucous bout of cheering from somewhere far away, the shouts petering off into just a few stray whoops, and Yiestol gives a dry laugh.
I suppose that's as good a signal as any that I need to return to my work.
I love how he smiles. He rises to his feet without waiting for an answer, then promptly offers me his hand. Ha! Hugger and kisser. That's cute.
That's cute.
I mean, seeming that you have a great time. So, oh, hello.
That is spam.
You seem like a spam bot, but that's okay. Enjoy yourself while you're here. I accept it gladly, clambering upright and dusting myself off.
I take it you aren't running your usual route today? I noticed you don't have your pack.
Yeah, the boss gave me the day off. I say in a little bit of confusion and awkwardness because I don't know what I'm doing with me either.
Right.
Hi. He said I should enjoy the eclipse.
And he's absolutely right.
Some level of flirting of going, and enjoy it as much as you can. We're heading down the stairwell back into the office, and Yiestol smiles as he holds the door open for me.
It's a special day, after all. I know how hard you work. You more than deserve a break today.
You probably deserve the break just as much, if not more.
Unfortunately, not today. Maybe next time, if there's a slow day.
Yiestol already seems in much better spirits. It does seem like a lot of people don't go out at night, though. It really does. The break seems to have done him a lot of good, and he stretches his limbs as he approaches the pod. The pool of fluids inside gleams, the unbroken surface practically shimmering in the light.
But today, I have plenty of work to get done.
And with that, he steps inside the pod. The fluids well up around his feet, pooling up higher as he begins to lower his body. And I blurt out in a hurry, Yiestol?
Yes?
Good luck with your work. You can do it. I know you can. You're going to do an excellent job keeping the city safe. And you reported the bot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Excellent.
I'll be back in the evening, right before the actual eclipse. Let's talk then. A heartbeat passes before Yiestol nods. He smiles, though it's seemingly his usual gentle smile. I can see a flicker of something more in the way he looks at me. It's sex. Oh,
Sense.
sorry.
Sense.
Sense. A sort of intimacy that wasn't there before, like we're sharing a secret. I guess we are, in a sense.
Yeah.
The coolest of cats have entered our chat. Yes.
Yes.
I'm looking out. I'm looking forward to it. Sorry, I combined two
You got
sentences
it.
there. Have fun out there, Vil, and stay safe.
Us, you're going to come back later and something. Oh.
Ooh.
The pod closes up around him in an instant, the two halves of its flesh shell coming together with a wet sound of suction. The numerous eyes on the pod roll once, as if trying to find their focus, open wide, then immediately go half-lidded. Yiestol must have promptly directed all his focus outside. I'm sure it's necessary. The city must be escalating its activities as we grow ever closer to the time of the eclipse. Smut. We are going to see what level of smut we are allowed to have, and we will go for it.
We will find out.
All right. Everyone else is also deeply immersed in their work, and I walk past them as quietly as I can, careful not to step on any of the communication bladders.
With all of our little footies.
Yep, our soft little toes. Nobody so much as glances at me as I step towards the door. The creak of it pulling open sounds so loud to me, but to them, it doesn't exist. I'm glad such diligent people are keeping our city safe.
Yay!
I end up wandering the streets outside. I need to think about Yiestol's proposition, of course, but I feel like I need to calm myself first before I can address something so important.
What is my relationship to this person?
Also, what will that do to the rest of my life? That level of walking around and looking, because if you decide tonight and there's anything else you wanted to do, that's it. So I walk. It feels good to walk. My body is so accustomed to running my daily route that I'd been feeling antsier than I realized, and simply taking to the streets as a brisk walk helps me clear my head.
Oh, Palm. So you did mention that you actually wanted to play this game, right? Like I remember from last time.
Oh, yeah.
So the thing is that the game, they request that you like give them $2, but you do not have to. This game is technically for free. So if any of you guys actually want to play this game, you can play it for free, but they have a request that you do pay them for their work.
If you do pay them, you get a bonus behind the scenes art book.
Yep.
And if you don't, you just get the game.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you could play this game anyway, which includes you could check out all the adult stuff you want.
They do also encourage people that if they just want to play and they're not to feel guilty or anything, just go ahead and take the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's right there. The creators seem very warm about it.
Yeah, so
To clear my head. My feet carry me down familiar paths, and I let my eyes wander over the various sights and sounds. This is all very, very familiar territory to me. But today, on the day of the eclipse, everything is different. Just a little. Just enough to make me appreciate the city all the more. I walk past a small crowd. They've gathered around one individual who stands tall, arms spread, he's still going, speaking in a booming voice.
Today is the day, friends. In just a few hours, the eclipse will happen. Good fortune will come to all of us. And so we depart now off to the Bone Plains to hunt the giant earthwhale.
Nice. That is what they want to do for their auspicious eclipse event.
Nice.
The crowd erupts into cheers. Several arms are raised high, hands clasped tight around spears. This must be a hunting party. Everyone looks ecstatic, practically mad with excitement, and it's almost infectious. I find myself smiling as I walk by.
They say the earthwhale cannot be hunted, but we'll prove them wrong. We'll be remembered for years, for decades to come, and everyone will feast on earthwhale tonight to victory.
I love that we can. Oh. I love that there is this. We can eat other things, but we eat salt.
right.
The triumphant shouting and hollering is audible long after I turn the corner and off the street. I want to see the bees again.
No.
The park is quieter.
Ooh.
I love the walking sounds.
It's so good.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's totally free of the eclipse's influence, of course. I pass by what looks like a couple embracing each other, whispering to each other and giggling. They seem very happy, and I give them a wide berth, trying to pass by quietly without interrupting anything.
Ooh.
Oh, Elsewhere in the woods, I can hear boisterous conversations and shouts, but all sounds are muffled by the ambience of the woods, and I look for an isolated spot where I can sit and think. It doesn't take terribly long for me to find a small grove of trees, a short distance off the main path, flanking an old fallen log. The finger pods on the ground squirm as I approach, no doubt alerted by the pad of my feet on the ground. But they settle down once I take a seat. These little moving plants. Hello. Yes, there you go. See, you can play. Support.
Yes,
Excellent.
you can totally do it.
All around me, I can hear the chittering of insects and the distant caw of crows. The city's bustle comes from someplace even further away, an ever-present but now muted reminder of what's happening today. And, sinking into the relaxing atmosphere, I close my eyes.
Well, would you please consider bonding with me tonight during the eclipse?
It's hard to really imagine what this bonding would be like.
I mean, I know what I'm thinking is going to happen.
However, vore might not be a common fetish in their world.
I'm not talking about it's a fetish. I'm
Oh.
saying like how I'm the red on his chest. I have considered that will open up.
I have considered that a lot of him can split, and that could be
Yes.
fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but it hadn't sounded like anything as simple as being eaten. I've heard of individuals like that, of course, who need to assimilate or absorb other people in order to survive or grow stronger. They often form bonds with those who had naturally short lifespans or who were fated to die shortly after procreating. These relationships often seem short but passionate, no doubt amplified by the fact that one party would only live on in the other's memories and in their physicality.
Mm-hmm.
What Yiestol described, however, sounded completely different.
The bonding process would bring us closer than ever. Our minds would be brought together as one. We would be able to share our thoughts, our feelings, our dreams with each other with absolute clarity. As an evolved being, we would always be at peace with each other.
So it sounds like we'd be together. We, not I. He wouldn't be consuming me into nothing.
Right?
Huh. Pushing the net button. Smash! Yes. I wonder if the
Well,
process...
if there's the Texas Smash going on.
Oh my god. Hi. Hammers the Texas Smash button. Monster Smash. We're doing the Monster Smash.
We're doing
It
the
was
Monster Smash.
It was a graveyard smash.
We, not I. Huh. I won't vanish. I'll still be there. I'll be with Yiestol. I would lose something. A lot. Possibly. Things would change drastically. But at the same time, I would gain something. A lifelong partner and trusted companion. We would take care of my alarm beetle together.
Oh.
And the city would benefit. Technically, it would be a small sacrifice for the sake of many. As he mentioned, he also saw it the same way.
Mhm.
And it's we are similar enough to him.
Yep.
But still, would you still chastise me for hesitating over this decision? That doesn't sound like him at all.
No, I don't think he would.
Would he be upset with me if I said no?
He would possibly be disappointed.
But I don't think
But-
upset.
Yeah.
I know I will. Can do.
Can do.
No, I don't think so. I ended quietly talking to myself as I sift through my thoughts. Yiestol isn't like that. That's why he gave me this time to think to myself. That's why he broached it earlier in a really indirect, soft way of going, hypothetical. And while his request has certainly caught me off guard, his honesty and sincerity has made it much easier to accept. With how passionate he'd seemed during that conversation, it was hard to imagine he'd wanted to bond with me purely for selfish reasons. From anyone else, I might have felt more uneasy being faced by this decision. But I feel like Yiestol had wanted me to understand the full scope of the situation and had wanted me to think it over on my own, so I wouldn't feel pressured.
And it's a big old life change.
This is my decision to make. And I think he really did try and make it so it didn't feel like a forced decision at all. So it felt like something we could come to organically in wherever state we arrived.
Mm-hmm.
I think of the various people in my life, my work, the things I enjoy doing, the places, sights, and sounds I've experienced. I think of how my relationship to those precious things might change if I decide to bond with Yiestol. And I think of Yiestol. I think of the long days spent with him, at his side, the two of us working together toward a common goal. I think of his calm smile, the gentle cadence of his voice, his calm and reassuring presence. I think of the time I've known him, of how much I've come to respect him and enjoy his company. I think about how it might be to grow even closer to him, to work towards protecting the city together with him.
I think that's really interesting because, so I've been thinking about it in regards to, there's not a lot of like, I want to say like basically physical attraction going on, which is interesting to me now that I really think about it, because like as much as I enjoyed like trying to connect you emotionally to something, the character themselves doesn't seem to be going like, yeah, and this is an attractive basically body experience, or might even be saying that an attractive body experience isn't required, or what you find to be attractive is different. It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like where people have talked about, for example, how men are portrayed versus how women are portrayed in Hollywood movies.
So women being portrayed as a body, generally, and men being portrayed more as a whole being and a personality.
Yeah, but more like based on like personality traits. It's not the fact that just that they look strong. It means that that strength means something. It means that they're intelligent and capable and whatever else. And a woman, like typically physically tends to be represented as going, you are pieces even. You have pretty eyes. You have a nice big mouth.
We compartmentalize you down into every one of your components. Yeah.
And I'm going like, it's interesting to try to make that accessible here to your reader of going, what would your character find valuable and what are actually the things that your society finds valuable?
Yeah, I say it really does build a lot of culture. He is not like other girls, it's true. I say, but there's this experience of going, nobody seems to be talking about the way anyone else looks. There's so much diversity that it doesn't seem to even come into it very much, interestingly enough. And you could have, theoretically, aesthetic preferences where, again, Vil describes almost everyone as having positively describes their physical features. Whether it's someone's smile or, the length, like the way they hold their tentacles or specifically the shine of their hair, whatever it is. Like Vil describes everyone in favorable terms physically, but not as if they're attracted to them.
Right.
And it's interesting. I think of the time I've known him, of how much I've come to respect him. Absorbed in my thoughts, I barely notice the time going by. It's the rustle of leaves that finally snaps me back to reality, and I sit up from where I'd ended up, slowly lying down on the log. The sudden movement is enough to set off the finger pods nearby, and they wriggle unhappily as I clamber to my feet. And they're just like, wow, I love the way you hold your tentacles. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You betcha.
That could also be, though, considered something that is very attractive. And that's also a thing where it could be, that is attractive. I like your teeth, that's hot. I like your whatever. But it's not being spoken about in the same way.
It doesn't even have to be hot. It's just be like, that's something I really enjoy seeing.
Right?
It's inspiring. It's, just aesthetically pleasing, whatever it is. The rustling turns out to be a small child barging through a nearby bush. The child gives me a confused look, as if demanding to know why I'm here. Excuse me? Why are you? I'm running here. And I smile in return. Past the dense wall of foliage, I can hear an adult calling for the child. Maybe they're too big to get through the bush. Going around all the trees could take them a while. Sorry, there isn't much to do here. Let's go back, okay? It sounded like somebody is looking for you. The child pouts at first, making a face, but reluctantly holds out a hand.
I have been caught.
There's an adult in the place. I was escaping, and there was an adult where I was escaping to. I take the offered hand, tugging the child along gently as I go back through the foliage, the way the child has come. I love the consideration that the adult may simply not be able to do what they can do because the bodies are so different.
Right.
As we emerge from the bush, brushing leaves out of our eyes, the parent looks over with a start. Sorry to surprise you. I thought it would be best not to let a little one wander around the woods. It only takes a small tug of the child's hand to get them to return to their parent's side, and I am thanked profusely. Thank you. Wow. The child is so excited for the eclipse, I'm told. They wanted to go exploring on this special day. Last time they found an enormous cluster of bioflowers in the woods, but had never been able to find it again, and they were sure they'd find it again today. The eclipse really is a special day for everyone, isn't it? Bioflowers is amazing.
Yes, that sounds wild.
I also love the finger pods. It just looks like there just looks like that sort of like graveyard thing of hands bursting through the ground, but it's nothing but the fingers. Just wait. I give the parent and child a small wave as I leave, wishing the child good luck. This is the first time I think we haven't seen the person, like at least someone in the scene when we're talking to someone. Interesting. But suggesting that maybe they explore together. The child, perhaps understandably, seems offended by the unwarranted advice given by a stranger. but the parent at least thanks me once more while seeing me off. It feels good.
You're such a jerk. You got me away from my stuff, and I was
I know, I was gonna find you.
wildflowers.
There you were.
You suck.
How dare you ruin my You know what? There's adults everywhere. That's what it is. Just absolutely everywhere. There are the adults, and I don't even like. All right. Feels good to be able to help people. It was a small gesture, one that cost me virtually nothing, but it was still helpful to someone, and that knowledge makes a warm feeling bloom in my chest. Thinking from this perspective, I can certainly see why he still values his job so much. It makes sense that he's so devoted to helping the city as much as he can. Perhaps it really is a goal worthy any sacrifice. I think back to how exhausted he'd seemed when he emerged from the pod, practically dizzy from the long time spent looking over the city. But at the same time, he'd seemed so proud and fond as he looked over the buildings from the rooftop, one hand touching against the spire's long veins.
It is baby.
Hi, baby. That spire is a good creature.
Is baby.
I look up to the rapidly darkening sky in the far distance. I think I can make out the very tip of the spire, though it might just be my imagination, confusing a wayward tree branch for the spire's top. Either way, I should probably head back. I think it's time. Oh dear.
There we go.
The streets are busier than ever as I make my way toward the Overlook office. The most people are clustered together in groups, the biggest ones overseen by Overlook officers standing at ready in case there's any trouble. I hear talk of a romantic confession going well. Someone decides to travel out west into unknown territory and is recruiting mates to travel with them. Another person has decided today is the day they will begin the process of setting up their new business. The announcement is met with cheers. Overhead, the suns have drifted across the sky, seemingly on a collision course aimed at each other. The moon is a darker shape that crawls ever closer, as if intent on devouring the suns. My skin almost feels tingly from the energy in the air, and I find myself jogging, then running towards the Overlook office, very excited. I want to see Yiestol. I want to let him know of my decision. It's dark.
Oh.
The Overlook office is even quieter than before when I enter. The lights are off, the desks are empty. The skies outside are rapidly darkening as the moon begins encroaching upon the sun's light. And then the interior of the office feels almost desolate. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, and then I realize the pod in the corner, alone, is still occupied. The eyes are all closed. Yiestol must be completely focused on the events happening outside. How is the pod's dark vision? Unwilling to interrupt him, I walk over to the pod and sit beside him.
We have complete silence, by the way. So if you're wondering, the music is gone real quiet.
Went away atmospherically. This game is pretty successful. Sandwich. Yes.
It's real dark.
That's amazing.
Actually, here's a good question.
Oh,
do they change the eyes any in the dark?
They're closed.
Oh, they are all closed. Good touch, guys.
Mm-hmm. So they said they were
Excellent.
closed, and then they were.
That's super neat.
It pulses gently, radiating an intense warmth, like Yiestol himself. It's an incredibly comforting presence. Just being near it tends to put one at ease. Despite not having run my route today, I find myself starting to grow languid and sleepy. The darkness gets us all the time. I love that.
Dang.
I guess even just walking around and thinking about things is more exhausting than one might imagine. Emotional labor. They actually mentioned emotional labor in this game, and I loved that.
Yes.
It does feel like it's been a very long day after all. I am disappointed that we didn't ever go back for honey, though.
Are we closing our eyes? Is that why it keeps slowly fading in and out? It does. Now it's just completely dark.
Because we did. We went to sleep, I think.
Yeah.
And if it's been a long day for me, it must have been exponentially more draining for Yiestol. I hope he'll be able to take another break soon.
Phil?
I bolt upright at the sound of Yiestol's voice. I hadn't meant to fall asleep, after all.
Ooh.
Yiestol is crouched beside me, a hand still hovering over where he'd evidently been hesitating to shake at my shoulder. I no touch without consent.
I do.
He laughs as I look to him, rubbing a hand on my face.
You caught me by surprise. I didn't realize you'd arrived. Were you waiting long?
No, not at all, I say, waking up, pretending no time has passed. We're like parrots.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, no light equals sleep. Perfect.
yes, that is it. We just put the blanket over us and we are gone.
No.
No, you are too stressed, blanket. Sometimes the police running in with blankets if they recognize your species and you are doing something really obnoxious, they just throw a blanket over you. The fight ends. Everyone falls asleep. No, not at all. It's just that the pod was really warm and I guess I dozed off. We have mentioned that the air outside is cold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to rub the sleep out of my eyes and he still smiles fondly.
You should have gone home if you were so tired. It's been a busy day, after all. Our work here is pretty much done. The eclipse will be soon, and the officers have already been dispatched to all existing trouble sites, as well as standing by where we expect there might be any more trouble. Even the remaining workers here had small things they wanted to do before the eclipse happened, so I let them leave. It took me a little longer to finish those last tasks. Sorry to keep you waiting.
It's fine. I even was going to say it's fine. You don't need to apologize. I'm finally feeling alert once more, and I sit up straighter to peer at Yiestol's face. He still looks tired, but a little more at peace. With all the work done for this eclipse, he must be feeling tremendously relieved, not like earlier when he had seemed so stressed. Besides, I couldn't leave. I needed to answer your question.
Right.
I was hoping maybe some part of me, while I want an answer, and some part of me, while I want a yes, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't come back and then I wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah, kind of.
For a brief moment, I see a trace of nervousness return to Yiestol's features. His eyes widen marginally before settling back into his calm gaze, his lips parting to reveal a sliver of teeth. They press together thinly as he nods.
Of course.
There's the subtle scrape of his exoskeleton on the floor as he moves to sit on the floor facing me. The remaining light from outside filters through the window, highlighting his features from the side and glimmering off stray strands of his hair. His gaze feels more intense than ever as he looks at me, not demanding or prying, but patiently waiting for my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in the way that I would have questions about the process if it were me. Like, it doesn't mean Vil has to, but I would. I also, if this were me and I had decided to do it, I would totally be like, can I touch you first?
Right.
Like, can I have, like, this experience that I'm not going to be able to have later? Because then if we're in our own minds, you could still theoretically revisit those moments way more intensely if you had them.
Right.
But if you didn't, it would be different.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, I am the type that puts absolutely everything on a sandwich, everything on a burrito, everything on an everything. I'd be like, I want it all.
Time to do it.
I am the do-it-all person.
Do it all. Do it.
Despite his earlier signs of unease, his voice is quiet and calm as he says,
Well, would you bond with me?
whoa. His words have a beautiful clarity to them. They almost seem to echo in my chest, throbbing alongside my pulse. The calm cadence of his voice is betrayed by a focused way he regards me, as if I'm the only thing in his world at the moment. A warm flush of gratitude washes through my veins. Regardless of my answer, I'm incredibly grateful that he would ask such a thing of me, though I never admitted, aimed for it, nor expected to become someone so important to Yiestol. I've always treasured our friendship, knowing that he feels the same way and perhaps to a greater magnitude than I can truly comprehend is almost dizzying. And feeling a heady rush of blood pour through me, I know there's only one way I can answer. I try to keep my voice as calm and clear as Yiestol's has been as I give my answer. We get to choose.
Oh.
Even at the end of this, we get to choose. I want to. I think Vil would want to.
I think
I
Vil
don't
sounds
think
like they
Vil
want to
is
as well.
conflicted about this at all, but I like that they give the player that freedom to have whatever character it is, despite it. Because a lot of these routes really do, once they hit a moment like this, it's you've already decided, it just happens.
Yeah.
See Yowie's Beast Boys and kick it.
Sigh.
I will. I'm almost startled by the words that leave my mouth. They pour out before I can stop myself. But as I comprehend what I'm saying, I also understand that this is the right choice. The words come faster, spilling forth my true feelings. I want to bond with you, Yiestol. I want to be together with you and help you.
I see.
Do it. We can become a garnet.
I'm so excited.
Yes. He still blinks. Is he shocked? He blinks again before he seems to understand what I said. I want him to like blink around his face, like blink left, blink center, blink right, kind of thing, like that thoughtful what? Again, before he seems to understand what I said, and repeats.
I see. You'll do it.
It catches me completely by surprise when he suddenly wraps his arms around me and pulls me close. Hug! Glomp! Very close. Closer than we've ever been. His body feels warmer than it looks, too, when his exoskeleton presses against my chest. Yiestol's head bows, almost touching my shoulder, and I can feel a deep exhale whispering against my throat. It's a little shaky. It's very cute.
So much, Phil.
The hugs, the squishes.
I can't put into words how much this means to me.
His fingers tug into my robe, and he pulls me even tighter. I'm pretty sure I've never seen him this emotional. Nothing even close. And it truly drives home how important this is to him. There's a lot of ooh woo woo. We're gonna read through this, and I imagine it will be very soft. I imagine this will also be very different in a group, and I'm kind of fascinated for that. Of just going, we can all have our own experiences, but also sort of just experience it together. Like it sounds kind of neat, even as it's a little like intimate, you know?
Right.
I gently rub a hand at Yiestol's back, or as much of his back as I can reach. My palm ends up awkwardly touching somewhere between his side and his shoulder blade, feeling the smooth expanse of his exoskeleton. Pep, short leggies, compared to his very long limbs. You don't need to thank me for anything, Yiestol. The triumphant, cute music.
It's really cute.
Hi. I was also really glad you asked me. I know it's an incredibly important decision for you, and if you feel safe asking it of me, then I'm really honored. Even with the way he pulls me close, I can feel even closer if I close my eyes. I can feel his breath against my skin, the wiry strands of his hair brushing against my cheek, the way his grasp pulls my cloak taut around me. Yoink. I feel enveloped in his presence. It's very comforting. We've known each other for a while now, haven't we? I bury my face into his neck. Bonk.
We have.
And I've always felt really comfortable around you. I've always thought it's a good thing you're the Overlook, because I know the city will always be in safe hands with you around. So if I can help you and be with you, then I'm really glad. There's no one else I'd rather do something like that with. He still doesn't respond, but his head nudges against my shoulder. He also buried in neck. Bonk. Almost like he's nuzzling me. He stays like that for a moment before finally pulling back a bit. One arm pulls away from around my shoulders to touch at my face, gently brushing some of the hair out of my face.
You don't know how happy it makes me hearing you say that.
I also enjoy that we consider it not only like this is a big life change, but going the possibility that, you know, we would exist or not exist. Sort of the other bonding questions. That was a really profound moment for me, and going, whoa, and that we would even, you know, that Bill would even consider that as well.
Right.
He leans back in, this time to touch foreheads with me. Stray strands of hair slide against each other with gentle metallic noises, and he leans back once more.
I can't wait to bond with you.
Now he's excited. That's cute. The smile on his face is as gentle as ever, but there's a closeness and warmth to it that feels different. It feels like he's utterly addressing me as Yiestol, as an individual, rather than as the Overlook to the city. It is cute. I admit, like,
cute.
I also the awe. I beam back at him. His gratitude and joy are infectious, and there's a hot feeling fluttering in my stomach.
Sure.
Sorry, something popped. I apologize. I had an alert on my phone. It confused me for a second.
Confusion.
I'm excited too. There's more I want to say. It feels like a dam has broken, and there's an endless number of things I want to say. But before either of us can speak, a loud murmur from outside catches our attention. It's only when we look up away from each other that we realize the skies outside have suddenly grown much darker, and they only continue to fade. The eclipse. It must be close.
Bill, come on.
There's the light tap-tap of his feet against the floor. Yes. As Yiestol gracefully gets to his feet, holding out a hand to me. When I take it, he pulls me up in one go.
Let's go watch it.
But shouldn't we bond first? I have no idea how this works. Yiestol laughs. It's a very light and joyful sound. Now that I'm ready, I am ready.
I'm so ready. What are we doing?
He continues to pull me along without hesitation, headed towards the door that leads to the outside stairwell.
Bonding takes a while, and I know superstition dictates it's best to make our important decisions before the eclipse actually happens. But we already made our decision, didn't we? Technically speaking.
He's adorable.
And this will be our first time seeing an eclipse since we got to know each other.
It's true.
So I want a good view. Something I'll remember forever.
I want to cuddle while we see the eclipse.
I
vote cuddle and eclipse.
Need cuddles.
It's like eclipse and chill.
Eclipse and chill.
Oh god. Hey baby, want to eclipse and chill?
I guess I can't argue with that. With that said, I pick up the pace. All the weariness I'd felt earlier seems to have melted away at some point. I feel like as long as Yiestol is pulling me along, we can go anywhere and I wouldn't feel tired. Of course, we don't go far at all. We only hurry up the stairwell, up onto the roof. The streets all around the Overlook office are cluttered with people. Most are gathered in small groups. Some are overseen by Overlook officers. The rooftops nearby are dotted with people looking to get a good view. Others peer out of windows or climb the numerous light poles. The electric energy in the air is practically palpable. Yiestol and I stand near the spire when the numerous eyeballs languidly sweep across the horizon. Is it also aware of what is about to happen, I wonder? It's seen a lot of eclipses, I imagine. And as if in response to my question, one of the eyeballs swivels straight upward. There we go, we get to see it! Yes!
Dude!
The sun seems so much brighter as they start to converge. Let's see, even with a dusting of clouds marring the skies, their light feels warmer than usual. Perhaps it's the proximity between them that amplifies their light. Perhaps it's a trick of the eye, because we're not used to seeing them traveling at such direct collision course. Perhaps it's just our excitement that heightens every emotion in the moment. Regardless, we watch the three suns creep closer and closer. I find myself holding my breath without even realizing it, and it's a cry from below that has me exhaling sharply. Someone on the ground below screams in what sounds like euphoric pleasure. Oh dear. They're like in the streets. It's okay now.
Furiously
just this one
clapping.
time of the year. Another person joins in soon afterward. It's the ecstasy, shared ecstasy.
Ooh.
But most of us are quiet. I want us to touch him. Look at that. Especially when the moon begins to cut through the skies. Warm light. I feel a ripple travel through the crowd, through the very atmosphere when the moon's shadow first bites into the sun's glow. Seemingly uncaring for the effect it's having, the moon marches slowly onward on a direct path to devour the entirety of the sun's glows. Yiestol stands perfectly straight and tall beside me, gaze directed upward. But his hand reaches out, as if searching for something. My hand. Poof, look at that! I love it. As soon as I take his hand, his fingers squeeze tight around mine.
It's happening.
His voice is only a quiet murmur, but it still feels terribly loud. The only sound I can hear now are muffled whispers and murmurs. The very air feels oppressive and heavy, like it's weighing down upon our throats, and speaking at that moment feels taboo. So I only nod, squeezing tight at Yiestol's hold.
Hand.
Hand. We don't look at each other, but we're at least very aware of each other's presence as he continues to gaze upwards.
Oh, you forgot an S there, game. Oops.
Oh.
It's okay, because he continued to gaze upwards.
As he continued. That's okay.
It's okay.
They do hard. Beautiful.
It's
Yes.
very beautiful.
It's very pretty, very warm, very nice. I love this. The warm glow of light above is at first a half circle, then a crescent, then only the slimmest sliver. Look at that! I love it. They went all out on this.
They really did.
And then there's only the ominous ring floating above us. First you see the ring. Oh.
7 days.
A perfect, delicate circle of sunlight that majestically adorns the dark skies like an eye watching over us. The very air feels heavy in my lungs. My chest feels tight. The eclipse bears down on us, an overwhelming presence greater than any of us will ever equal, and it makes my skin prickle. It feels physically impossible to tear my eyes away from the skies, even as the tiniest pinpricks of light begin to pierce past the moon's shadow. But a gentle tug at my hand pulls me away one step, then another. The suns have begun to fight their way out of the moon's shadow when I finally manage to look away.
Come on.
Yiestol, now he's eager. Oh, that's us going down the stairs, right? Whoa. I was suddenly like, what, that sound? Yiestol still speaks at a whisper, though. He glances back briefly to give me a smile as he continues to lead the way. We go back down the stairwell, of course, through the door that leads into the office. The streets below seem to have also broken free of the eclipse's allure by now. I start to hear murmurs and shouts drifting up towards us as some people rejoice in what they had the chance to witness. An overjoyed scream is the last thing I hear clearly before I shut the office door. The office is instantly quieter. The noise from the streets seemed to come from a million miles away. There's just the sound of our footsteps as we walk across the office and towards the pod. Is it okay for me to come in? Yiestol had stepped into the pod without any hesitation, but I can't help hesitating. The pod is the Overlook's domain, after all. I'm not sure if the pod can even hold both of us. We're about to get very close.
Very close.
Very close. But Yiestol just laughs. Gently, not mocking. I love those distinctions. They're very important.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps a steady grip on my hand as he ushers me to step in beside him.
Of course. Anyone that I acknowledge is allowed to enter the pod. Besides, it will have to learn to recognize us once we're bonded.
Giving the new, card ID to the pod, programming your new password,
So, doing the bonding process within the pod is a useful method. My predecessor highly recommended it.
It's a good time.
It's a good squishy time.
I see. Even with that encouragement, entering the pod is a strange feeling. The fluid inside is lukewarm and thick, but the surface parts easily as I begin to dip my foot in. Toes, boink, and you do. My legs glide in with practically no resistance, and then I stand with both feet in the pod. All 4 feet, because I refuse to believe that you walk on your hands and then handle food.
Right? Tap into the pod. Yes.
I'm confirming. I'm in the pod with a candlestick. Oh.
Right.
The fluids close around the circumference of my limbs.
Here, come closer.
Yiestol's bony arms rest over my shoulders, easing me closer. Fluid sloshes around my calves, lapping at the open edges of the pod, but never spilling over. Sorry, I'm having this experience and reading it out loud makes me only think about the reading, a little bit less. So I'm less focused. I apologize.
It's fine.
Should I take off my things? Will you eat me with clothes or not?
I would.
Yes, if you don't mind.
I will become the Neki.
Ooh.
A small nod as I begin undoing the fastenings of my cloak, letting it drop to the floor. As soon as I'm bare, Yiestol suddenly wraps his arms around me, pulling me into a tight embrace. When he drops his weight down, I'm brought down along with him, and together we sink into the welcoming pool of fluid. The pod is bigger than I expected.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa.
We actually get to look at ourselves.
Wow.
Fascinating. The roof of the pod snaps shut with a loud squelch, sprinkling us with flecks of fluid, but the interior of the pod is still somehow lit with a warm glow. All right, we gotta look at this.
I am curious. All right, here we go.
I want to see the art. I want to see. Look at that.
Oh.
All right. So I headcanon this wrong, but we have like one huge eye on the top of our face. That's fascinating. And we have this sort of drippy pus experience going on.
I see.
And the whole really deep chest of someone who runs and breathes, you know?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's very intimate. That's cute.
It is.
Aye, both cute and smexy.
Aye.
Aye, lit with a warm glow. Submerged in the pool of fluids, I worry for a moment how I'm meant to breathe, but I'm given my answer soon enough when I feel the fluids begin to subside, as if they're being sucked back into the pot. You did tell us. My head breaks through the surface, and I gasp. Inside the pod, the air tastes warm, with a deep sweetness to it. Oh no, we are very affected by sweet.
I see.
Not like sugar, but like meat. I'm still inhaling deeply, trying to grow used to the sensation. Honestly, Vil is super olfactory oriented.
Yes.
Like, more than other games where they're just like, it smells like this, Vil is like, I smell the thing deliberately and it's intoxicating.
Right.
And it's kind of neat. Trying to grow used to the sensation. When Yiestol's head also reaches the surface, the level of fluid continues to shrink down, sinking below our shoulders.
Don't worry. The pod will adjust to us. It'll make sure you're comfortable.
Ah. As if to prove his point, he sits back, tugging me along, so I'm seated in his lap. Blink. Ooh. The fluids slosh around him, and the plush wall of flesh behind him conforms to the shape of his back. Memory foam flesh.
Ooh.
This is a thing.
Comfy.
Nice.
Nice.
Sitting this close to him, I can feel his exoskeleton start to grow warmer. Not just his exoskeleton, but the very air feels hotter and wetter and sweeter. I am between sexy and hungry, and I can't decide.
A mood.
It feels like I'll melt if I stay in here too long, like I'll become part of the pod. It's making my body feel oddly sensitive, and I shiver as Yiestol's hand traces around my side, then rests against my back. His fingertips are two hot points of contact against my skin that demand a great deal of my attention.
Oh,
Suddenly, all my attention is at the small of my back. But far more pressing is when he brings his face close to mine. Whoa.
Whoa.
That is
We actually have
wild.
a face. Hang on.
Look at us.
Look.
And yeah, we do sort of have an infection on one side of our experience.
I
I don't know what was going on with the forehead before. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but that's amazing.
That is wild. Also, we have a heart for a pupil, and I am super entertained.
It is very adorable and charming.
That is super cute.
Also, again, he's not put off by any of it. It's nice. Who had a COVID-19? I feel myself attacked. Side effects of getting the red virus is that I can't smell shit.
I
I'm
didn't know
sorry.
you had COVID, Paul.
I didn't know you'd gotten COVID at all.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, oof.
Oh,
We have now
honey.
known quite a few people that have come down with it here and there, though no one directly in contact with us because we have lived under a rock since it started.
Right. Well, I mean, I know people who have, like, actually, both of my parents.
Like I said, we
had
haven't
COVID.
been around them.
Yeah, but we haven't been around them, so.
And actually, we've had a couple of people in our sphere that had mysterious illnesses but didn't get tested, you know?
Right.
And then they had an experience of going afterwards, after they're just sick. They couldn't smell well, including one of my good friends. And they couldn't taste as well either. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
I hope you are all okay. We support you.
Ah.
See, we need to be able to share food, so we could send them all soup.
I know. We need to share food. It'd be good.
That would be cool. We just get a meal runner. His voice echoes in this tight space, sending the tiniest ripples running across the surface of the fluid pool. The level of fluids has sunk further down, lapping around our sides, warm and comforting without being imposing. Yiestol was certainly right in saying that the pod would make me comfortable. I feel utterly at home here in Yiestol's warm embrace, feeling his breath brushing over my shoulder. I close my eyes, meaning to nod, but feeling too pleasantly absent to do so. Yiestol seems to get my meaning regardless, because he leans in closer. His words are spoken in a low whisper, each syllable melting into my thoughts when he asks,
Oh, I'm sorry. That still sucks though, not being able to smell. I've had issues with like sinus infections and whatnot. Not saying that that's similar to COVID, but like sometimes you're just like, I cannot smell anything. Everything has no taste, no flavor. You're just dead.
When I can't smell,
Blah, blah,
it
blah.
makes me sad, so I sympathize.
Yes.
His words are spoken in a low whisper.
Can we begin?
Almost before the question drops, I know my answer. Yes.
I
Whoa.
thought so.
There we go. All right, everybody.
Hang on. We're gonna. I knew it.
We can do it. Yes.
I knew it.
He probably splits all the way down. That's wild.
Yup.
I feel like it's sort of opening up and out, though, the way they've defined his face before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it sort of like lifts and spreads.
Maybe.
Fascinating. Blep. He blep.
Hey, blep.
He blep.
Hey, big
I
blep.
must be cute
Blah,
and
yeah.
sexy. Just blep.
I am.
Yes.
Yes.
No words.
It's
Well,
so many words.
we have the words, don't you worry. I hear a slick sound of something wet against something hard, like blood sluicing off bone. Where it actually makes sense that you would know what that sound is, unlike in other games.
Oh, right.
The smash.
And it's such smash.
And I very quickly realize it was the sound of Yiestol's mandibles spreading wide open. For a moment, I catch a glimpse of gleaming white teeth at the periphery of my vision. Yes, that is a wide open jaw, like they're around the sides.
Ooh, maybe.
Then they sink into my shoulder. Like the way my feet had eased into the pod's fluid without any resistance, Yiestol's teeth slide into my flesh smoothly, with no pause or hesitation, so swiftly that I barely feel the initial puncture. I am imagining that there's an experience of, like, there's a lot of saliva drawn here, and while Bill isn't commenting on it, I'm imagining it's one of those antiseptic and, like, semi-digestive fluids.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the teeth work that way. What that tongue do? Blep.
My
tongue do blep. Only when they lodge deep in my flesh, I feel a prickle of pain sparking through my nerves. But even then, it feels hot and airy. It's not unpleasant at all. Oh, the good pain. We have the good pain. My flesh parts easily, as if the pod's fluids have melted away any resistance, partially liquefying it. Then I can feel the trickle of hot fluids from the bite mark trace down my chest, pattering into the pool around us. It leaves behind a trace of flickering warmth that lingers on my skin. Monsters, they do it different,
They do such different.
I want to feel more of it. That warmth leans into tongue.
Bleh.
My hands wander, practically on their own, starting from Yiestol's side and traveling upward. My fingertips touch against Yiestol's body, feeling out details I'd seen before, but had never thought I'd get to touch. The gentle inward curve of his exoskeleton above his hips, the softer connective portion where his arm meets his shoulder, the partition line near his throat. We do the touch.
We do the touch.
Just below his throat, his exoskeleton opens up to a window, where his inner flesh peeks past. It's shiny in the warm, hot air of the pod, and I touch at the edge of it as gently as possible. He split open.
Yeah.
I must touch. What is? Much touch. It still earns a deep shiver, and Yiestol's mandibles snap shut quickly enough that his teeth rake thin lines across my throat. The sensation sends a heady rush of blood through my veins, and I exhale sharply. If this is the censored version, whoa! My voice escapes with that hot lungful of air. It's a soft noise, but a needy one that echoes in the tight confines of the pod. Yiestol says nothing, responding with a low purr from the back of his throat. Oh, he rumble.
He do the rumbles.
I love rumble. It makes his teeth vibrate ever so slightly as he takes small bites into the junction of my throat and shoulder. Nibbles. Oh.
Oh.
Look at our hands. We have amazing freaking hands.
Wild hands.
Look at that.
Handy twos.
Also, that's very cute. Like, it looks extremely soft. I love this intense, like, toothy devouring of another person that is also soft and romantic. It's wild how well they maintain the tone.
Right.
I don't think we're a masochist. I think it's just a positive sensation combined with the other feelings. Like, It's not like we love the pain, it's just like it hurts so good. Kind of like if you've ever had like a deep tissue massage where there's a spark of pain that then just feels really good as the muscle releases.
Right.
But possibly masochism as well. Think of it as you like.
Quite.
Everything is starting to meld together. The sounds of the fluid lapping around us, the feel of teeth easing into my arm, the pressure of Yiestol's hands dragging down my back and around below my ribcage. His fingers squeeze tighter, pressing against, then into my sides. My body gives easily to his every touch, made pliable and sensitive and eager by the sweet air and lap of fluids.
No wonder he's one of the very few people who can be in here, because it's basically like being inside of a Venus flytrap.
It really is digestive stuff, but he can use that.
That sounds fascinating.
It is a little wild to read porn out loud. On the other hand, I've done some work as an audiobook reader, and sometimes there's sex scenes. It's definitely different to do it with another person, but at the same time, it's like I'm interested in the story. So while it's this mixed experience of going, like, again, like, we're all sharing an experience, and while parts of it are essentially sexual / porn, if you will, this being very specific in that it's not human sexual at all, it's just kind of fascinating. But it also feels like that sort of just like accepting sort of open. Like it's kind of an intimate experience with everyone that is just kind of like, hey, we can all just kind of vibe together, you know?
Right.
So I think that's neat. Anyway, let's see. It doesn't take much encouragement from him for me to raise myself up on my knees. It lets me lean in closer to him, pressing chest against chest. That tiny window of inner flesh feels incredibly hot against my skin, enough to earn a low groan. I want to be closer to him. I love the great big hands. They're very charming.
Indeed.
Closer than anything else. So close we become one. I want to be bonded with him. And my body responds easily to these desires, slowly succumbing to Yiestol's every touch. I love another overseer, the one as they're retiring, going, when you bond, I recommend the pod. 5-star experience.
A+.
As if guided by magnetism, he finds the spots where my body is most prepared to take him. Teeth glide into my throat with the ease of a knife through water. His hands dragging hot lines of sensation across my skin and making a heavy sensation settle into my gut. He shifts beneath me, then pulls me closer until there's practically no boundary between us. My hands grip tight around Yiestol's shoulder, pulling him closer, pulling us together. I immediately feel like our bodies have become one. Like a rib cage without a spine, my body would collapse in on itself without Yiestol's form to hold me together. His exoskeleton is hot and slick to touch. The pod's fluids have soaked through his hair, and the strands practically welcome the tangle of my fingers through them, just like my body continues to welcome each and every breath.
Breach.
Breach. I knew what I meant. Each and every breach. Him just disassembling me is a good time. Faintly, I hear Yiestol murmuring my name. His eyes are closed, his whole mouth occupied. He just hums my name into my skin.
Right?
Short. Luckily, there's only one syllable, so he can manage.
Oh, right.
It's just the vibration of Vil. His teeth gently ease apart my skin, and I shiver as his teeth scrape across bone. I can't feel my legs anymore, like they're not there anymore, replaced by a warm sludge. That hot, heavy feeling in my gut keeps expanding, spiking hardest when I move to pull him closer to me. Through the haze of light and sparks that are starting to color my vision, I feel my fingertips starting to melt, smearing against Yiestol's shoulders. It's good. We did warn for body horror. Hopefully everybody ready for this?
Yes.
Because I can sink even deeper into Yiestol's lap this way, feeling him sink deeper, deeper, deeper into my most innermost recesses. My heart's almost beating out of my chest, and I gasp when Yiestol murmurs my name right against it. I say your name into your actual living organ of the heart before I devour it. There's something profound about that.
Yes.
I say...
I have to say, this is actually a different kind of horror that I was expecting, to be honest. I was expecting... where it's like a snake.
The whole game gives this experience of being Again, soft and beautiful. It just is really neat. Like they're like monstrous in a horror, in a horror dating game, and like it just feels very, very safe and very cozy. The whole thing, wildly enough. And I have really enjoyed the experience and the way the authors approach it.
Mm-hmm.
I say his name back, but I'm not sure if my voice can leave my throat anymore. Do I have lungs? Do not know. Not the worst hinty ever, but still the woo.
Yes.
It's starting to become a bit too much.
Yes, everything's starting to go away.
We're losing our we're losing our eyeballs, by the way.
Yes.
It's starting to become a bit too much for me. The heat's continuing to rise, but not in an unpleasant fashion. It's not like the sweltering heat of summer or the stifle of a hot blanket. This is the heat of a warm embrace that one sinks into endlessly without escape. It feels really pretty. Also less embarrassing because really pretty,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I close my eyes, I can feel every little movement against me. I imagine at this point, we can also feel it from both sides, a little bit from his body as well, which is kind of wild. The drag of Yiestol's hand up my back, the way it presses his arm against my spine, the way each hot breath flits past my bones and through my ribcage, the bob of his throat when he swallows, and the faint vibrations whenever he murmurs my name. That hot trickle of the pod's fluids is everywhere now, covering me like a silk cobweb. I've never felt more comfortable. I know for sure that I made the correct choice in bonding with Yiestol. How else could I ever feel so at peace? When I close my eyes, I can hear a single heartbeat pulsing between us. Yiestol is still calling my name, and I smile. I still am like, this must get really spicy in the adult version. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's the last thing I hear.
Very glad.
I am very glad. I am filled with gratitude.
This
It's the
joy.
last thing I hear as my thoughts grow fuzzy and dark. It's a full day before I awaken. Whoa. I am aware of it immediately. There's no transition, no period where I'm hazily emerging from sleep. Just the overwhelming darkness of sleep, followed by instantaneous clarity. It's a full... the light shifted and I lost my place. Because Yiestol is awake first. And as soon as I'm awake, we share everything we know. We are one and the same. So I immediately understand that the bonding process was a success, and that he'd awakened first, but had been reluctant to awaken me because he was sure I was exhausted. And he also immediately understood that I was grateful for his consideration.
Aww.
Okay, that is a very clear explanation of shared openness, but like bonded minds, where you still have two individuals.
Right.
That is one of the better ways I've seen it written without going into 9 million words and being overwhelming.
Right.
Like the sort of concision of this author being extremely concise is beautiful. Even bonded with me, he is kind and considerate, and I'm immediately glad for it. Whoa!
Ooh.
Look at that. All right. High text. Look at that.
Whoa.
We got the 4 arms, not like the split arms.
Now we
thing.
have an extra eye.
And it doesn't look
The
like
hair color has changed.
He looks like because he has some of our red hair.
Uh-huh.
And also he has a completely different like physical conformation. He's more what I would consider feminine based on the form I saw us having.
Right.
But also I don't think that the knees and leg tendon are completely different. He's more like a runner like we were too.
Yeah.
That's wild. Those are pretty. And there's 4 eyes instead of 3.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. I said he got
Look
an extra
at
eye.
that.
Wow.
That's very pretty.
The heart is sort of hilarious.
It is very charming and ridiculous. Also, the black eyes now, just things picked up from us. Also, again, his change, he doesn't split in the same way anymore. That's fascinating.
That's wild.
I love it. It takes me no time at all to adjust to being bonded. Yiestol had been worried the change would be too drastic. Perhaps I simply adapt quickly. I do find it strange at first, occupying a form so different from mine. Me, I wish to go down to run. Him, there's no need. I know, Our evolved body is closer to Yiestol's old form than mine, and at first I'm confused by the willowy fingers and delicate limbs. They're so unlike my own robust limbs. Hardy from long days spent running. The heart is cute, yes. The more you know, it's true. Told you, stick legs, those are definitely stick legs.
Yes.
Still stick legs, but he had stick legs before too.
That's so good.
That's wild. Me thinking of the tendon and going, but is that going to be like headphones and you might catch it on something?
Oh God, ow.
Ow. I imagine not. With the perception of two people and the support, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's nice. Getting to know all these intimate details of Yiestol's body for the first time. Yiestol's body for the first time. Nobody will ever know him better than I do. And nobody will ever know me better than he does either. Now that we're bonded. He also immediately understands what my body had been like and commiserates with my difficulties.
Aww. Him, I feel you.
Him, I know, but I knew what you would lose, which is why I was the hesitant. Then he helps me adjust until I'm comfortable once more. It's a shock to people who knew me before, of course. Our relationships do change drastically in a way that can't be reversed. As the Overlook, I can't maintain the same position I did before, delivering salt. But it's not a bad change either, just different. Okay. Super romantic, very cute. Capitalism question. Do they pay both of you wages?
Ooh, good question.
Because there are
Excellent.
2 of you working this job. And it should not matter that you're in one body.
It's true.
You just got a job as the overseer, and now there are 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can still speak to them, ask how they're doing, inquire about their daily lives. I still cherish each and every one of them, the same as before, perhaps even more. Now that we want to protect the city together.
I have to say, he really looks like Metaton now.
I was gonna say there's a Metaton vibe to that from the fan art that I've seen.
Yes.
And it's a little wild. And I don't know if this was made before or after that, but design things, they do spill over even if they're not inspired.
Oh yeah, and honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Financial
as much.
questions are important questions. As the Overlook, we think so dearly of the city and do everything we can to nourish it. The city responds in kind by flourishing more than ever. I really did like the fight where the cops were just like, this is clearly important to them, and we just want to make sure that they're not interrupted and that none of you get involved in a way that could harm you. Like, that just made me really happy. Like, clearly the civilization is very different than Metaton.
Oh my god, also Transformers Prime Starscream. Yes, I can see that.
I can see that too. I was just
excellent,
like,
excellent additions.
These are all excellent. But like, I do love how much culture in very little sharing was shared in this world, was put out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. What makes us happiness is neither the bustling city, nor the peaceful streets, nor the friendliness of other people. However, we adore those things, of course. We're deeply grateful for them. But what puts us most at peace is the knowledge that we have each other.
Oh,
this is really cute. This is super squishy, romantic, and I love it. Yiestol is me, and I am him. We are always aware of each other together, but separate, at complete peace with each other. Trying not to giggle about the great gigglies as I do the romantic, height of the story. And each time we stand on the rooftop of the office and look out over the city, we remember the night of the eclipse. The night that brought us together. The eclipse was only the first of many to come, but it will always be the one most meaningful to us. That's the end. That's so cute.
Oh my god. It has to depend on metabolism, I think. It costs twice as much. Yep, to support new form, pay should be double. If not, maybe 1.5. I agree. That would actually be...
Yeah, no, I think it's an important question. And it's one of those things of going, you're supporting 2 people. What a beautiful freaking game.
Aww.
I love this. Oh my god.
Hardcore Doki Doki.
Yes.
Edie,
I'm so invested. Yes, I support it.
I know.
That's
How
so
would we poop?
cute.
Honestly, I don't know.
We don't even know if we do poop. Poop has not been addressed, nor do bathrooms exist in this world. So you know what? Not important.
Excrement?
Pee? Who
Yes.
knows? How do we
This is so
eliminate?
good. Okay, well, we're going to keep going.
Okay,
because
yeah, we don't have a whole lot of time. We've only got about another 2 hours? Like, less, an hour and a half, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because we have to end at about 4:30, 4:45.
Right about 4:30, 4:45, depending on how long. Like, if anyone else comes in for the room, we'll have to give it up. But, like, we can go to about 4:45.
Well, yeah, that have to be at, like, 4:30, which would be wild.
So I was going to say, we've got,
What was that noise?
It was a door. Oh, it was this losing connection briefly.
Okay, that scared the crap
I
out of me.
hope it wasn't this losing connection briefly.
I...
But no one's complaining, so hopefully.
Okay.
All right, I will stop. I won't move anything.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're gonna start the next story. But for anyone who's watching this later as a video, since this was the primary arc, I am going to end this here, and then you can find the second half or the next route in the next one.
So thank you very much, guys, though, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also share our videos if you're having a good time with us. Please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or our Patreon. We got some links in the description down below. And I have been Scandal.
And I have been Liz.
And it was great playing with you. Bye!